Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Shantanu Narayen.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you so much. I can absolutely assure you that a number of Adobe products were used in that. Let's give them another round of applause. On behalf of the over 20,000 Adobe employees, welcome to MAX. We're absolutely thrilled to be back here in Los Angeles, with 14,000 of you here in the room and the thousands more that are watching online. And we're incredibly excited for what the next few days have in store. This morning, we'll talk about the incredible breakthrough innovations inside of Creative Cloud. In tomorrow's general session, you'll hear from some of the world's brightest and most creative luminaries. I hope you'll leave just as inspired as we are and energized by the creative possibilities in front of all of us. One of the pleasures and privileges of my job is meeting creative professionals and students and partners and customers in all parts of the world. And the passion that they pour into their work is always so incredibly moving. It fills me with pride to hear about the role that Adobe plays in helping bring their ideas to life. And earlier this year, I was in India. And during that visit, I recalled what it was like being a student when I grew up. The importance of education was always instilled in me. But at that point, access to basic educational resources was often limited. And at best, the curriculum stopped with reading, writing, and arithmetic. I really believe that students today who don't have access to educational resources, especially technology and digital literacy skills, will be disadvantaged for the rest of their lives. And so it's a passion of mine and everyone at Adobe to extend beyond the creative professional and to make this technology and creative tools more accessible to more people. When you think about it, all disciplines of education, whether it's history or geography or science, they can be so dramatically improved when it moves beyond text to include pictures and videos and animation and graphics. And that's why one of the products that we've introduced is Adobe Spark to address that basic need. And I'm thrilled that earlier this year we announced a partnership with the Indian Ministry of Skill Development to enable more than 1 million students to have access to Spark earlier this year. But from my point of view, 1 million people addressed in India, billions more to go all around the world. It's that spirit of creativity, of bringing ideas to life and telling stories through technology that lives in not just creative professionals, but everywhere: photographers, filmmakers, designers, illustrators, and artists. It's people like Tammy Coker, who's here in the audience with us today. And Tammy is a photographer and graphic designer who's one of Adobe's creative residents. He was born in Nigeria, raised in Texas. And Tammy became a high school teacher who built a brand new curriculum focused on graphic design and photo editing, leveraging tools like Photoshop and InDesign. He's now a nationally recognized designer and photographer and is spending his residency exploring pursuits like fashion, sports, and music, and building partnerships with amazing brands like American Express and Estee Lauder. But the power of creativity isn't just constrained to the student or the individual or the creative pro. When you think about creativity and experience design, it's emerged as the true difference maker for all businesses in an increasingly competitive climate. We think about Equinox. It's a premium fitness company that offers a physical experience that's worked hard to extend to digital experience as well for all of its loyal customers. And what they've done is they've embraced creativity and collaboration and personalization to deliver an incredible customer experience. We think the priority that's led to design thinking leads to better customer loyalty, better engagement, and it has companies like Equinox thinking about the experiences that it can deliver beyond just the fitness studio, such as outdoor travel and other excursions. But finally, the role that images and animation and art, the next generation of storytelling, can play in stoking emotion, calling attention to important causes, illuminating the human condition, and frankly, changing the world, cannot be overstated. Sea Legacy is an organization that's committed to restoring and protecting the health of the world's oceans. They're working to combat pollution, overfishing, and other serious threats that exist to our ecosystem. And it's clear that they use breathtaking and often heartbreaking images and videos to raise significant awareness and spur action. They're acutely aware of the role that creativity and compelling visual storytelling can play in driving change. We're thrilled that Sea Legacy uses Creative Cloud Enterprise to tell its story and to support its mission to turn the tide for our oceans. But these are just a few of the many ways that millions of people around the world use creativity and Adobe's tools to inspire, to express themselves, and to make an impact. We always talk about the fact that we have tens of millions of people using our products every day to tell hundreds of millions of stories. And what I'd like to do is share a video with you, just a snapshot of some of the more exciting stories, and to showcase the magic that our customers bring to the work that they do. Let's take a look.
Used to keep it cool, used to be a fool, all about the bounce in my step. Watch it on the news, what you gonna do? I could hit refresh and forget. Used to keep it cool.
It's stories like this and the millions more that are told every day that absolutely always send a chill down my spine. But the common thread that ties all of these examples that I shared together, from the student to the filmmaker to the business and to the organization that's seeking to change the world, it's simple, but it's really powerful. And it's a fundamental truth that drives everything that we do here at Adobe. We believe that everyone has a story to tell. These stories may come from different corners of society and serve different aims. But the transformative power of stories, the fire that can ignite from this creative spark, and the desire to turn this into action is absolutely universal. Because the capacity to create should know absolutely no boundaries. And so our goal at Adobe is to empower everyone to tell their story and to nurture this creativity that exists within all of us. We think it starts for us with completely reimagining the creative process. We know that creativity is no longer just confined to a desktop. The ability for every one of you to create wherever and whenever inspiration strikes, on the go, on your phone, on your tablet, is absolutely critical. So we're trying to reimagine ways in which we can extend your creative capabilities to more places. New areas like mobile applications and video and animation and interactivity, so that creating and sharing this content across all of these arenas needs to be simpler, whether your passion is vlogging about food or whether it's creating a music video for yourselves. The way we create also has to become significantly more intuitive, because today's creative process demands way, way more than just a keyboard and a mouse. And it's crazy that you can't still speak to your device or have a simple gesture bring your creative ideas to life on the screen on which you're creating. It's the kind of breakthroughs that we must work on to make our tools and our technology go into the background and allow you to focus even more on the stories that you want to tell and your work. And whatever the device, whatever the medium, whatever the creative task, we want to bring it to you. The fact that everyone has a story to tell, combined with this reimagination of creativity, underpins our vision for the Creative Cloud. And put simply, it is to deliver a creative platform for all. This morning, and throughout MAX, we're excited to share with you how we're trying to deliver on this vision. It means creative tools that are more accessible, enjoyable, and indispensable to all of you, whether you're a student, a creative pro, a hobbyist, an enthusiast, or a particular business. And there are a few areas that I'm particularly excited about that I'd like to touch on. I spoke earlier about the democratization of creativity and breaking down barriers to storytelling. The innovation we're delivering through tools like Adobe Spark that are extending creativity to all. I'm also personally passionate about photography. And with Adobe Lightroom CC, our photography cloud service, it now works across mobile and desktop and web. We're allowing photographers everywhere to edit and organize and share stories in an entirely new way. With Acrobat PDF, we're enabling the entire paper-to-digital transformation using artificial intelligence and machine learning-powered collaboration and editing capabilities for digital documents on mobile as well as on the desktop. For us, across photography, documents, filmmaking, experience design, mobile applications, and any other creative pursuit, we're innovating to better meet your needs and open the door to new creative possibilities. And that simply is our vision for Creative Cloud. And I'm so incredibly proud of the engineering and product teams at Adobe who bring this to life. And we cannot wait to see what you do with the tools that we're delivering when we share it with you. I really believe that design has never been more important, and we're living in a golden age of creativity. Not only are technological advances completely reshaping our craft, but the role of creativity, of stories well told, and powerful experiences has never been more important. We're able to exchange ideas, collaborate, and most importantly, inspire one another like never before. And the power of creativity and the ability for it to have impact has never been more relevant. As we look forward, whether it's in art, whether it's in culture, education, or business, we think the future belongs to those of you who can create. And we're looking forward to reimagining that entire future with all of you. And what I'd like to do now is to introduce Scott Belsky, our Chief Product Officer. He's the founder of Behance, which was our online creative community, and we were thrilled to welcome him back to Adobe. Please join me in welcoming Scott. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shantanu. I am so excited to be back on the MAX stage. Are all of you ready for a great MAX? Come on, yeah. I could not be more proud of our teams and our new products and features we have for you this morning. All of them are going to help you accomplish more with more impact. Plus, we will unveil a few surprises that I am really excited about. But before we start with the news, I want to add to some of Shantanu's thoughts on creativity and our mission at Adobe. Creative Cloud is the work of thousands of passionate developers, designers, engineers, product managers, and experts in design, photography, video, and so much more. Their work is guided by feedback from so many of you. We are all motivated by the belief that creativity is more important now than it has ever been. Creativity is the most unique, most fundamental human trait. A tech thinker I really respect, Kai-Fu Lee, just came out with a book outlining how more and more jobs will be replaced by automation. And among the safest jobs, he says, are creative professions. We'll never truly understand the origins of creativity. It could be a product of mistakes of the eye, clashes of difference, or childhood trauma. I think creativity is a mix of every life experience. It builds indiscriminately on everything we see, hear, and touch. But there's one thing we do know. Algorithms will never replace the human imagination. Now, like a lot of you, I've become distraught and occasionally disillusioned by how divided and polarized our world has become. But as all of us in this room know, creativity is one of those rare forces that brings people back together. Creativity transcends ideology and goes straight for the jugular of emotion and understanding. It breaks through barriers, and it does, in fact, connect us all. At Adobe, we believe that being able to express yourself creatively is a fundamental skill that every person needs, just as they learn to read and write or add and subtract. Creativity is an essential form of literacy. Producing tools for creative people makes all of us on the Creative Cloud team excited to come to work every day. As we develop the next generation of our tools, we are guided by three important principles: accelerate your work, liberate your creativity, and drive new mediums. Let's look at this first principle, accelerate your work. We do this by making our tools easier to use, streamlining time-consuming tasks, and helping you learn new skills and techniques. Now, I know the creative process is never simple, and bringing your ideas to life will always involve some struggle. But that struggle should not be with your tools. So we're focused on modernizing, simplifying, and accelerating performance across Creative Cloud. If you need to learn a new technique or how to use a new product, we're making it easier with a new generation of step-by-step tutorials and support integrated deeply into Creative Cloud apps. We're also helping the community support each other in new ways with live streaming. 1 year ago, we launched Adobe Live on Behance. And since then, 1.5 million creatives around the world have viewed more than 66 million minutes of people creating in our tools. The average watch time is actually more than 100 minutes per user. So much of creativity is learned by watching others create, and we're really trying to bring back that era of apprenticeship with live streaming. So stay tuned for more there. We're also launching new features that make you more productive. Even when you know a tool inside out, there are some tasks that just take much more time than they should, like masking complicated images or tagging a full day's worth of photos, for instance. And so we're streamlining those kinds of tasks with Adobe Sensei, our artificial intelligence engine, and you're going to see a lot of examples of Sensei throughout some of the demos today. Okay, the second principle that drives our work is to liberate your creativity. Despite all that is packaged with Creative Cloud as a service, much of your work is still bound to the desktop, constrained within whatever tool you are using. But creativity doesn't happen only when you're sitting at your desk, and your best creative work isn't constrained to a single tool. Creativity happens at the intersection of different environments and disciplines when your tools work together beautifully. So today, we will share a major inflection point for Creative Cloud as our tools start to evolve from desktop applications into multi-surface systems. This transformation will enable you to work more collaboratively across multiple devices and take full advantage of all that Creative Cloud has to offer. Creative Cloud should allow you to create anywhere. This vision requires a tool like Photoshop to extend beyond the desktop. But it also means that all of your assets, your projects, your fonts, your brushes, your presets must be at your fingertips at all times. The full power of Creative Cloud comes through when, for instance, you create a composite in Photoshop and apply it to a 3D scene in Dimension, or when you take a design from Adobe XD and animate it in After Effects. Creative Cloud now delivers a friction-free workflow between apps, transcending the power of any one particular tool. But these are not new ideas. They just have never been fully cracked. So to deliver, we needed to reconceive some of our products and services from the ground up. And we're going to show you how we're doing this today. The third major principle behind our work is to drive new mediums. It's clear that voice and augmented reality will become increasingly important vectors of design over the coming years. One estimate is that smart speakers like Amazon's Echo will actually be in the majority of US homes by 2022. As for augmented reality, we believe it will offer a new and more integrated layer over the world around us. AR will soon be the best way to navigate a new city, to find what you need in a big store, or even fix one of your household appliances. As we learned in previous transitions from print to web and web to mobile, designers and other creatives who don't learn how to create for these new mediums will miss out on important opportunities. But we are committed to helping you succeed in new mediums like voice and augmented reality, and we're going to share some really exciting updates with you today on this front. Okay, so keep these three principles in mind because you're about to see how they come to life. We are going to move fast because we have a lot of amazing updates and announcements to share, and we are going to start off with Terry White and Danielle Morimoto, showing you some of the ways that we are accelerating your work, making you more efficient in your everyday creativity. So let's give a warm welcome to Terry and Danielle.
Well, thanks, Scott. I'm super excited to be here to show you some of my favorite new features and, more importantly, updates in Photoshop CC and something else a little bit later. So, how many of you use Photoshop? Awesome. All right, let's get started with some updates that you've been asking for years. First of all, I'm in a Photoshop document and I want to edit text. Well, you know, go to the type tool, click in the wrong place. Now you're adding text instead of editing. Well, now, just like InDesign and Illustrator, I can double-click to edit text. More importantly, once I'm done, I don't have to know how to click a commit button, find the right key on the keyboard. I just click away to auto-commit. Next up, I want to go in now and change the color. Well, now we have the brand new color wheel, among all the other ways of changing color, but you'll find this color wheel works in color harmony, and you'll see it throughout the day, especially in the mobile section. So I can click a range of color that I want to work with, click away, nah, that's not it. How about something in the fuchsia category, like matching my shirt? Nah, that's not it. How about something maybe in the reds, or you've been here before, right? You won't know it till you see it. But then you make that change, and then you kind of like, well, maybe I liked it the way it was in the beginning. No longer do you have to know the secret keyboard shortcut, because today, Command-Z, 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 Command-Z. Something you've been asking for years. All right, so with that said, last thing I want to do, I want to free transform this, and I know what you're thinking. He's about to reach for the Shift key because that made sense 2 decades ago. No, it didn't. I no longer have to hold down the Shift key because scale proportionally is on by default. And those are just a few of the many updates that you've been asking for. Double-click to edit text, click away to auto-commit, Command-Z, 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 and of course, free transform proportional by default. I'm going to switch over to my next image where I'd love to do a modern-day double exposure effect. I've got the bear, I've got the forest, you see where this is going. Now, in order to do this, I need to cut the bear out. So I would traditionally reach over for my quick select tool. I would start making that selection and start dragging, you get the idea. We're not going to do that anymore because we have the brand new Adobe Sensei-powered Select Subject. So with one click, Photoshop will figure out what the subject is and make that selection for me. All right. Now, I need to turn that into a mask, which is the very next button, Select and Mask. When I click on Select and Mask, I can see that, well, there's a little bit of background left in the fur, so I'm going to use the new Surface Pen on the brand new Surface Studio, Microsoft Surface Studio here. And we're just going to go ahead and just paint that right out with the Refine Edge tool built right in. All right, once I get that beautiful mask, I'll just go ahead and click away, click OK. It will make the mask for me. I will then use that beautiful mask on the background. I'll just drag it down, and you're thinking, okay, well, how am I going to see the forest? Well, traditionally, you'd use a blend mode, but you'd either have to know which one you want or go through them one by one to see which one looks best, clicking each time. Well, I'm happy today to introduce live blend modes now in Photoshop. So I just click, I hover over the ones until I find the one I want, and I'm done. Adobe Sensei powered Select Subject, new and improved Select and Mask, and more importantly, live blend modes. Now, for my graphic designers in the audience, you've been here before where you want to lay out multiple images on the canvas. We want to fill in that last image up at the top. I'm going to go ahead and drag it over from my CC library. When I drag it over, no problem, scale it down. Sweet. All right, once I get it down, I would still have to figure out how to select it and mask it and get it just right. So I'm not going to do any of that, because instead, I'm going to use the brand new frame tool here in Photoshop CC. I'll just go ahead and drag my frame out. My InDesign users just clapped. I'm going to drag my frame out, and I'm just going to drag this image in, and it will do two things for me. It will perfectly size the image down, and it will automatically mask off any excess image. I still have access to the whole image, though. So if I want to free transform it, I can, scaling it within the frame and moving it around in the frame without having to know how to mask it perfectly. Now, if you're thinking that frames are limited to just rectangles, you couldn't be further from the truth, because here's text that I converted into a frame with just a right click. Here's an elliptical frame done with the frame tool. And more importantly, here's a vector frame from a guitar that I got from Adobe Stock. And I just right-click, convert it into a frame, and I drag over my Adobe Stock image right into it, and beautiful masks are easy now in Photoshop. Now, in this case, I've got multiple artboards. Artboards is an amazing feature inside of Photoshop and Illustrator. And in this case, I would love to visualize my design in the 3D space. Now, Photoshop's had 3D for years, but it's a bad word if you don't know what 3D is or if you don't know how to work in 3D. So a year ago, we introduced a brand new tool called Adobe Dimension. And Adobe Dimension allows you to pre-visualize or visualization of your branding in a photorealistic environment easily. And that's the key. So let's switch over to Adobe Dimension. And here's Adobe Dimension. I've got this backpack, magazine, this travel adventure scene set up, ready to go. And I'm going to go to my operating system here, grab that exact same PSD, and drag it in. So there it is, dragging it in. And when I get there, you'll notice the logo from the first artboard comes in. We'll scale it down, and it's already matching and mapping to that. Wait, you don't believe me? Look at that. It's matching and mapping to that backpack automatically. Imagine having to do that in Photoshop and warping it and trying to get it in the right space. I just did it by dragging and dropping. Now, once I'm here, I want to also change the materials here. And when I double click on this, I keep double clicking. There we go. When I double click on the backpack, I'm going to use another new feature, which is multiple layered materials. So I just switch the material, multiple layers, and now my logo doesn't look good. So, well, wait a minute. I remember I have multiple artboards. I can now access those artboards right in Adobe Dimension. Switch to one that looks better, and away I go. Now, if you're thinking, well, how do I really see that? New in Adobe Dimension, the ability to bookmark your camera views. So if there's a view that you really like, just switch to it. This isn't even rendered yet, and it looks cool. All right, now, my favorite new feature in Adobe Dimension is this is great for me working on my desktop, but what if I need to share this with all of you or share it with my client? How will they really experience this? Well, new in Adobe Dimension, the ability to publish a 3D scene to the web. Create a link, all set. Once I click that, I'm not going to wait for it to render, but we're going to just pop over to the browser where I've got this all set and ready to go, and here it is in the browser for the client to work with it. I don't know, I'm just strange. I like looking at the bottom. But anyway, there it is. And not only does my client get to move it around, but they get the same bookmarks. They get to jump to exactly what they want to see. So with that said, those are just a few of my favorite features in Photoshop and Dimension. I can't wait to see what you do with it. I can't wait till you get your hands on it today. And with that said, Danielle, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Terry. All right, so I am stoked to be here to now share some of my favorite features, starting off in InDesign. So let's just jump right into it and start with a better way of placing images. Now, previously, I'd grab the frame tool, draw out my frame, and then drop in my image. Now, as soon as I do that, this image just got placed really large, so I actually can't even see the person in this frame right now. So this is typically, when I go in and I adjust it, and I adjust it again, and again, and this is just when I spend a lot of time futzing around trying to get this thing right. Well, with the new feature, Content-Aware Fit, when I now drop this image into the frame, it intelligently places it for me. So what this is doing is it's looking at the aspect ratio and the dimension of the frame, and it's actually evaluating the content of the image itself. So I can still go in and I can adjust each of these photos, but up front, it's now doing a much better job. Now, I also want to note really quickly that we've added a new contextual properties panel to InDesign. So just like you have across our applications, there's now a single panel that adjusts based off of your selection. All right, so let's move on to the next feature, which is layout adjustment. So I have a magazine layout, looks pretty good. It's basically finished, and my client loves it, but they have one last change. Now, my client wants to change the document size. I'm sure none of you have ever had a client come back with last-minute changes. You know where that's going? Yeah, shocking. Pretty unheard of. Well, this is a huge pain because now I have to go in and I have to relay out every single one of these pages. Well, now InDesign handles this all completely for you. So by selecting the new feature, Layout Adjustment, when I now select OK, it intelligently relays out my entire design. Yes, this is crazy. This feature literally just saved me hours, if not days of work. So I can still go in and I can tweak a couple things here and there, but it does a really great job. So those are some really fast features in InDesign, but now let's head over to Adobe Illustrator. Now, some Illustrator fans out there? I'm a designer, and I know that it is really good practice to design using symbols. Now, do I always do that? No. Please don't judge me. Sometimes, I get really inspired. I start copying and pasting, and then all of a sudden I realize I need to make a change, but I have, potentially hundreds of these objects now. Well, by selecting the new feature, Global Edit, it finds every single visual instance of my selection. So now when I go in to make that one change, it's looking like a weird banana plant. There we go. It updates across my entire file. This is a huge time saver. So I never made this a symbol, and I can still make really large changes across my entire document at any point in time. All right, so last but not least, one of the most fundamental tools in Illustrator is the gradient. So we have the basics, right? There are linear and radial gradients, and these are super easy to use, but not the most flexible. And then there are mesh gradients. Now, meshes, super powerful, but not always the easiest to get your desired result. I actually spent a bit longer than I would like to admit making this circle, and it is just a very basic circle. So you've told us you want something that is just as powerful as mesh gradients, but as easy to use as the basics. Well, the new freeform gradients does exactly that. Now, this is powered by Adobe Sensei and revolves around adding points. So as soon as I do, and I start to move this around, the colors fuse really naturally together. And each of these points has a set of properties that I can adjust. So I'll go in and change the color, bring down the opacity, and I can even adjust the intensity of this diffusion directly on the point itself. Now again, I can add as many points here and there as I like, and moving these around, colors are fusing together really organically, so I can start to create some very complex gradients really simply. Now, freeform gradients are also aware of shape boundaries, so I'll go ahead and add a gradient to this circle, and you'll just see that really quickly, I'll start to adjust this design to create almost a 3D effect, and it's really quick and easy to use these freeform gradients. Now, I've been drawing simply using points, but you'll see that freeform gradients also enables drawing with paths as well. And this just allows for an insane amount of control over anything that you want to create. Yes. This is just scratching the surface. Freeform gradients are super powerful, but also really intuitive to use. All right, so those were some really fast features, just a few of my favorites from today's release, and we are really excited for you all to start using them. Thank you.
So thank you, Terry and Danielle. Those demos give you just a sense of all that we've done to accelerate your work. And our teams will continue listening to you and making the little and sometimes big changes that make you more productive. Now, we have so much news today that we can't give you a demonstration of everything, but I did want to let you know about a few improvements that cut across Creative Cloud that make all of your work easier. So the first is a new way to navigate your recent documents and access helpful tutorials whenever you need them. The new home screen intelligently grows with you and your skill level. It is chock full of learning support and sources of inspiration, so I hope you check it out. Now let's talk about fonts. Choosing just the right font is an important foundation of most creative projects, and today we are vastly expanding your choices. Up to now, you were only allowed to sync 100 desktop fonts at a time, and many of our fonts weren't even available for desktop use at all. So starting today, we are doing away with all limits on font use, and all fonts in the library are available on both desktop and mobile and web. We are also expanding the font library tremendously. There are now over 15,000 fonts in your library, including hundreds just added from Monotype and Type Network, and they're available to all Creative Cloud subscribers. We're also making it easier to find just the right type by better integrating font discovery and selection into our products. And given these changes, Typekit will now be known as Adobe Fonts to reflect the fact that fonts aren't a separate product, but a feature woven throughout Creative Cloud to make your life easier and your work better. Finally, I'm excited to share just a quick update on Adobe Stock. We've added new Adobe Sensei-powered search features to make it much faster and more intuitive to find the exact image or asset you need. We've also partnered with GoPro to bring you access to exclusive video assets, and we're making it easier to sell your work on Stock with the most creative-friendly rates in the industry. So now we're going to jump into the rapidly emerging field of experience design, and you'll see some exciting new functionality in Adobe XD, our experience design and prototyping platform. A couple months ago, I raised a few eyebrows when I declared in some press interviews, no less, that Adobe XD would someday be as big as Photoshop. It is a controversial thing to say, especially within Adobe. So let me explain how I got there. Think about your experience when you're trying out a new app or browsing the web to find a hotel or restaurant. Sure, we pay attention to factors like price and features, but more and more, the decision comes down to design. How intuitive is the interface? How many clicks does it take? What does the experience make us feel about the brand? These are the factors that make us push the buy button and make the reservation. And in the future, even more parts of life will have an interface. We created Adobe XD because we knew there was a need for an experience design tool that only Adobe could provide, one with exceptional speed and performance, seamless interoperability with Adobe's other powerful design and animation tools, and the ability to design across the Windows and Mac platforms. Over the last year, we've rolled out new features and updates each month to make XD a robust platform for designing cutting-edge experiences. And here to show you the very latest from Team Adobe XD is Koi Vin. Koi.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you. So Adobe XD is a powerful all-in-one tool that helps me design, prototype, and share. And there's some amazing features in today's release. I've been using them to work on this new project. This is going to be a podcast player app that we're calling Episodic. But the story of the first feature I want to talk to you about, that actually starts over here in Photoshop. That's right, Photoshop, because Adobe XD can now open up Photoshop files seamlessly. Now this is perfect because I've designed these 5 screens for Episodic right here, where I can use all of my favorite filters, and I can get that rich texture that only Photoshop gives me. And now I can take this work and open it up in XD directly. So let me show you how that's done. Back here in XD, I'm just going to go to File, Open, and there's no complex importing or conversion. I'm just going to find that PSD, and when I click Open, I get a brand new XD document with all those 5 artboards right here. They're native, the vectors are super smooth, and the text is editable, even though it came right from Photoshop. This is the power of Creative Cloud integration. XD complements Photoshop beautifully. It also works seamlessly with Illustrator files, by the way. OK, so now that everything's here in one place in XD, I can copy these artboards, and then I can just merge them with my main doc. And in fact, I've already done that. I've got these 5 same artboards right here. So I can actually pick up and keep designing exactly where I left off. In fact, I've also got all the layers that I created in Photoshop, all those layer names transferred right over. Just really seamless. You might also notice that this layers panel is a lot more minimal than what you might see in other apps, and that's because the whole XD interface is just context aware. It's very stripped back. It only shows me what I need to see when I need to see it. On the right side here, this is our property inspector. Again, the settings change based on what I have selected. XD also has a terrific assets panel, and this is where I can store all my color swatches, character styles, and symbols, too. And symbols is a great way to keep everything consistent. I also want to note that in today's release of XD, symbols can now remain linked between documents as well, not just within a single document, but between documents. And that's huge for consistency and control. OK, so that is a brief tour of Adobe XD. Let me show you some more of these cool new features that I was talking about. The first one is called responsive resize. And it's going to save you a tremendous amount of time if you ever find yourself in a position where you need to reconfigure a screen like this one for different aspect ratios, different breakpoints. Even just to get this tab bar right, it's really time-consuming and really inaccurate. And some other design tools have tried to solve this by forcing designers to define really arcane behavioral rules, or even to do math, math plus design, The XD approach does not require math. It's actually much more elegant. So on this artboard here, I just need to flip on this responsive resize toggle, and then I can pull on any edge of this entire artboard and actually just make it narrower, make it wider. And watch that tab bar. XD is doing all that work based on the way I've grouped those items together. So it's using those implicit relationships to be smart about how it lays everything out. And that means I can also drill down and grab a specific layer group, like this one, and get a more nuanced design for this horizontal orientation, and then drill down and use responsive resize on this button here. And even with these little tweaks that I'm making, I've saved so much time. And that is the point of responsive resize. It just takes all the tedium out of designing for responsive media. OK, so thank you. OK, so this next feature is even cooler. So we've heard tons of great ideas from you, the design community, on ways to enhance XD. And so what we've done is that we've opened up the app so that developers can build plugins on top of XD. That's right, plugins in XD. And the developers have built some amazing things already. We've got this new plugins menu here. You can see them all in one place. You don't have to go out and download them from a dozen different websites or install them individually. They're all here, available at one click, and they've all been vetted by Adobe engineers so that we know that they're rock solid on Mac and on Windows. Great, yes. Okay, so the first plugin I want to share with you is going to help me get a preview of how my design might hold up when it's localized for different languages. This is a plugin called World Ready, and when I open it up, you'll see developers can create their own UI in XD plugins, as these have, and they can hook into outside web services. So I'm going to choose Google Translate as my translation engine, and then I want to see it in German, in Korean, and in French. And when I click this button here, I'm going to get 3 copies of the same artboard, one in German, one in Korean, and one in French. This is a huge time saver. Okay, so this next plugin is really fun as well. This is a plugin from a designer developer you might know. His name is Meng To from Design Plus Code. He's actually here with us at Max, so you might run into him. This plugin is called Angle, and it's going to help me finish designing this marketing webpage for Episodic. And what I want to do is I want to take the UI that I've designed on this artboard and paste it into this perspective mock-up of a phone. Now to do this, I'm just going to open up my layers panel and grab the layer that defines, the vector layer that defines the screen. And this is where that minimal layers palette really comes in handy. So I've got it, open up Angle. Now I select the artboard that I've got all that UI on. And when I click this button, you'll see I get a flattened version of that artwork, skewed in perspective so it fits seamlessly onto the artboard. Thank you. I didn't even need to leave XD to do that. Why would you ever want to leave XD anyway? So that's just a taste of what you can do with plugins. Developers have been using the JavaScript API for the plugins to build some really amazing stuff. And we can't wait for you to get your hands on them. Okay, so I just threw a whole bunch of features at you. Just let me recap really quickly. First, seamless import for Photoshop files also works great with Illustrator. I mentioned link symbols now working between documents. That's huge for design systems. I talked about responsive resize, tremendous time saver, and a rich new plugin ecosystem, all in today's release of Adobe XD. Some terrific enhancements to design. But XD is not just about design. It's also about prototyping. And in today's world, like the ability to build a prototype, that's a kind of a superpower, because if you can create a convincing, compelling prototype really quickly, you become a much more effective, much more persuasive designer. And that's why over the past 12 months, we've been working really hard to make prototyping even richer and more capable in XD. You can now prototype all kinds of common interactions and gestures, dragging, swiping. You can fix elements on the artboard while the background scrolls. You can put one artboard on top of the other as an overlay. But I want to share with you a feature that we think is really going to unlock creativity when it comes to prototyping. This is a feature we're calling Auto Animate. And as the name suggests, Auto Animate is a whole new approach to animation. And it doesn't require you to learn how to write a single line of code or even to master a complex timeline interface. You just switch over here to prototype mode, start with 2 artboards, and you drag a wire from one to the other. Now, if you've never built a prototype in XD, that's all you need to know. It's just dragging a wire. It's really simple. And now, under the action menu, I get the option to select Auto Animate. And that's really it. I'm just going to wire this back so that we can see here in this demo how it works. Now, to preview a prototype, I just click on this icon here to get a virtual phone. And you'll see when I click on this button, it's going to morph into that wide continue button, or that large microphone button automatically. Yeah. Yeah. This is really awesome. What's really happening behind the scenes is that XD is taking a look at these 2 keyframes, basically, and matching up the layer names. So you have a lot of control over what gets animated. And then it's automatically generating those transitions for you. Now, this approach is so powerful because it's so simple, it's so visual. It's also really robust. Let me show you on these other artboards here how Auto Animate just really adds a ton of life to the UI. So watch these stats at the bottom here. They sort of just pop off the screen when I use Auto Animate. And all that's really happening is that some of these elements, they're changing scale from one artboard to the other. The waveform there is changing shape. And here's a cool trick. So this number here is a column of numbers that I've partially hidden behind a mask. And the exact same layer on this artboard, I've just shifted the position of that column of numbers. And so XD is animating between them for me. So if you're starting to get this concept of how auto-animate works, you're probably also getting excited about the creative possibilities. And I've actually been having a ton of fun with auto-animate. I've been using it to design the tablet version of Episodic over here. So when I preview this, you'll see that auto-animate adds just a whole lot of drama to the way this screen builds in and builds out. Just look at that. Yeah, thank you. So that's over a dozen elements moving all at once, super smoothly, and back here, it's just 2 artboards. It's really simple to work with Automate, but really powerful. And with all the other enhancements to prototyping in XD, you're just able to create even more realistic, even more convincing prototypes than ever before. So Auto-Animate is really going to unlock creativity for you. OK, so there's another part of this prototyping story that I want to talk to you about. You know, designers are being asked to create for so many different kinds of platforms these days. And immersive media, like voice, that's been challenging for us. Now, at Adobe, we fundamentally believe that voice is going to be a part of every major app experience before too long. And that's why it's so important for designers to be able to design with voice. But the tools haven't been there. Well, all that changes today, because in this release of Adobe XD, for the first time anywhere, you can now design, prototype, and share with voice as a medium. That's right, you can create voice prototypes. This is really exciting. Yeah. I'm really excited about this too. So let me show you how this works. So there's going to be a voice assistant built into this app that I'm designing, this episodic app. And so I've created these artboards here to visually suggest how that's going to work. Well, in the new version of XD, I can now just drag a wire to determine the actual voice interactions too. And that means I can set a voice trigger here. So I'm going to type in, "Hey, episodic." On the destination screen, I'm going to type in what I want to hear back from the app. XD is actually going to speak back this text to me that I type. There's a new text-to-speech service integrated right into the app. "Hi, what can I do for you?" And for good measure, let's do one more screen. The command over here is going to say, "Show me new podcasts." And then on this screen here, I'm just going to copy this text and paste it into this speech playback box. And that's it. Now, I can actually preview this on the my mobile device because it's a mobile app. We have terrific companion apps for iOS and Android. Starting today, those now support voice interactions. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to open up this same desktop preview window here and give this a try. "Hey, episodic."
"Hi, what can I do for you?"
"Show me new podcasts."
"You have 7 new episodes in your queue."
I'm so happy that worked. So that's a simple demonstration of voice working, but you can build some really, really robust logic flows with our voice feature. But I just want to take a moment to sort of appreciate how this really opens the door for us as designers. It lets us start designing for all these places where voice is going to play a role, these home automation systems, these artificial intelligence applications, and all these devices that are already around us where, you know, they really need designers to get to the next level. You know, devices like the Amazon Echo, which are terrific, but with design's help, it can really become something else. In fact, I've been creating a version of this app, Episodic, for the Echo Show. I've got all the artboards for that device right here, alongside my artboards for mobile, for web, for tablet. It's so great to have the whole product in one document. And XD is so fast on both Mac and Windows, it just doesn't blink an eye. And on top of that, the ability to go back and forth between design and prototyping fluidly, that is a game changer because I can finesse the visual layout. I can build those awesome voice interactions. Build those awesome animations. And I can define those voice interactions all here. No other design tool lets you do this. None. Only in today's release of Adobe XD. Thank you. But I'm going to pull one more thing on you. So these artboards here that I've designed for the Echo Show, I can, of course, preview them right here on the desktop, right? Just as with any artboards for any other platform. but you can't beat the kind of feedback you get from seeing it on a real device. And so I want to give you a sneak peek of something that we've been working on, something that's coming soon that we've been collaborating on with our friends at Amazon. And that's the ability to run your XD prototypes on the Amazon Echo. And to demonstrate that, I'm going to bring out one of the very first all-new second-generation Amazon Echo shows. Now, this was just released. Amazon was nice enough to share it with us about a month ago. We've had it in our labs, and we've been building XD, a bridge to XD on it. So let's give this a try. I want to make sure Alexa hears me. Alexa, open Episodic in Adobe XD.
Welcome to Episodic. What would you like to do?
Recommend some new podcasts for me.
Here are 3 podcasts for you. Want to learn more?
Tell me about Wireframe. I hear that one's awesome.
Wireframe is a podcast about interaction design. Would you like to subscribe?
Yes, please.
You're all set.
Folks, this project was just an idea in my head a few weeks ago, and I designed it here in XD on my desktop. I brought it to that device. I was able to talk to my design, and it talked right back to me. This is a huge breakthrough, not just for XD, but for all of us as designers, because it really sets us up to build this next generation of experiences. And voice is a new tool that we can all work with. We're so excited about this. If you haven't already, now is the time to try Adobe XD. Thank you very much for having me. Have a great Max.
Thank you, Coy. So much of the power of XD comes from its seamless integration with the rest of Creative Cloud and with third-party tools. Coy pointed out a few of the third-party plugins, but they are just the start. All of the partners you see behind me are building integrations with XD that are either shipping today or sometime really soon. And starting today, in an industry first, we are unlocking the world of voice design in Adobe XD. We're working closely with Amazon as we develop XD's voice features. In fact, Coy's demo was built using a new UI kit for XD that we're releasing today for Amazon's Alexa. I talked earlier about the idea of helping everyone develop a basic creative literacy. We believe so strongly in that idea that earlier this year, we took the highly unusual step of making Adobe XD free for everyone to get started. Just as easy access to word processing software has improved written literacy, we believe making XD available for all will advance design literacy, making it easier for anyone to bring their ideas to life. Now, so far you've seen us demo a lot of things on a desktop computer, but you're not always at your desktop. In fact, as we all know, many of our most creative ideas happen away from the office, on a plane, riding the subway, or the middle of the night. How great would it be to have Photoshop available anywhere inspiration strikes you? Well, there have been many attempts and hacks to open Photoshop files on the go, but they have never been dependable or powerful. We have launched plenty of apps with Photoshop-like features, but we've never been able to offer real Photoshop beyond the desktop. But what if we could? What if you could start a project on your desktop and then add more layers, effects, and brushstrokes during your commute? What if your favorite brushes, controls, and features were always available to you? What if every time you opened your project, no matter where you were, it reflected your latest changes, no matter where you made them? That would be amazing. And it used to be a pipe dream, until a small group of ambitious Adobe designers and engineers started a skunkwork project a few years ago. Their crazy idea: take the core Photoshop engine and its nearly 30 years of code and put it on an iPad. This would have been impossible without the evolution of the hardware and a tight partnership with our friends at Apple. It required intense engineering feats until we ultimately achieved proof of life in the labs. And it required a massive effort to develop an entirely new suite of services, gestures, and interfaces. And today, we are thrilled to give you a preview of Photoshop on the iPad coming in 2019. I have goosebumps a little bit. This is not a watered-down version of Photoshop. This is real Photoshop, and that's what Jenny Lyle is about to show you. Jenny.
Thank you, Scott. I am thrilled to be here today with all of you. And it is an incredible honor to represent the great Photoshop team here. Now, as Scott has mentioned, this is not a Photoshop-like application made for the iPad. This is real Photoshop on the iPad. So now I've got the iPad open, and I'm going to open up Photoshop. And I want to tell you, this is the Photoshop code base, so it opens up PSDs. There's no imports, there's no conversions, this is not a rendition, this is a PSD right here. And we've really thought through the design. So on the left-hand side, you've got your core iconic Photoshop tools, and on the right-hand side is a very minimal layers pane, so you can keep your eyes on the canvas. But sometimes I do want to get deep into my layer management, and all I have to do is take 2 fingers and pinch to zoom it open, and now I've got full detailed layers. All the naming, thank you. All the hierarchy, everything is here. And in fact, I could get even deeper and access layer properties here for every single layer. So we've designed this with scaffolding in mind so you can see what you want to see when you want to see it. Now behind the scenes, we've really focused on power and performance. So this document is actually 208 layers deep. And in fact, we could have as many layers here as we have on Photoshop Desktop. This navigation is super seamless, fun to scroll, and the same power goes for the canvas. I could pan in, I could zoom around, it's buttery smooth. I could even get down to the very last pixel, let's grab this star here, and make an edit on a single pixel if I wanted to. Again, it's just Photoshop and it's just a PSD, which means I could take the same document and open it here on my desktop. Same layer hierarchy, nothing's changed, same resolution. Now let's hop over to New Project and start something here. So I've got something here, and any edits that I make on desktop can be made available on all my devices through Creative Cloud. So I'm going to throw in a couple of meteors and grab a galaxy while I'm at it, and then paste it in. And with Creative Cloud, once all my documents are there, I could go to any device that has Photoshop and open it where I left off. So here, opening up the document, and as much as I love the desktop, I'm no longer tethered to my desktop. So, yeah, amazing. Because this is just Photoshop, all my tools here work and operate just as I would expect. So let's go ahead and do some editing. I'm going to take this foreground, hide it a bit because I want to create a full moon here. I'm going to grab my selection tool. And we're not giving you a truncated version. You get the full advanced capabilities. So now I could feather the border of my moon, soften it a bit, and lock the ratio. So now I could create a perfect moon here. Now, we thought about something called context-aware UI. So these bottom selection features only show up after I've made an active selection. And it gives me fast access to operations I do commonly, such as inverting and masking the selection. And when I'm done, it just disappears out of my way. But my favorite context-aware UI is something we call the touch modifier. This little guy down here. So I've got my Photoshop brush, and what this guy lets me do is toggle between tools so I can keep my eyes focused on the canvas. Now here, I'm going to create a couple of craters with my Photoshop brush. By the way, it's the same brushing engine. The Apple pencil is super pressure sensitive here. It's very fun to play with. And once I've made one too many craters, I simply hold down and erase these marks. I could redraw them, and my eyes are kept on the canvas. And because it's context aware, when I hop over to a new tool, it switches the operation here. So now I'm going to grab my little lonely alien and create a little entourage for him. Let's bring back the room here. And there you have it. All of our desktop interactions have been carefully thought through to be optimized on the iPad. And just to recap, we started this project out on the desktop, it's seamlessly synced, and we finished it here because it's Photoshop. So I'm going to finish with one more project and show you the power of the layer capabilities. I've got two ordinary images here, one of jellyfish I got from Adobe stock, and another I took on a hike. And I want to blend these two together in a surrealistic scene, and I'm going to grab my handy Photoshop blend modes here, and with one tap, I've already begun the transformation. Now I want to darken this background scene, and when I grab my adjustment, and let's use levels here, it actually created it on a separate layer, and this gives me total creative control, because I could take this, I could apply it to the top of the stack, I could clip it to only the layer it sits on top of, I could always move it back and continue playing with my adjustments, never burning changes on my real pixels of my image. Just like Photoshop, it comes with the layer mask. So now I could go further into precision editing and start masking away parts of the scene that are a bit too contrasted, and now I've blended it even further together. Now the power of layers goes beyond what I've shown here, and it even extends to any layer that I drop in. So I'm going to drop in one more layer here and grab my gradient. Let's give it a bright neon green and a deep blue. And even here, I could play with different blend modes. I could experiment, see the live previews on the screen. It's very fun to play with. And I could go back, continue playing with my gradients. This looks pretty good. Tone it down a bit and see the final outcome. All right, so now I've got all the power, all the precision, and all the control I know of Photoshop here on the iPad. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. So we are thrilled to bring you Photoshop on the iPad, available in 2019. And it is just so exciting to think about the possibilities that open up when you can use Photoshop anywhere with all of your assets and your favorite tools at your fingertips. So this is what we mean when we talk about liberating your creativity. And we invite you to sign up to get notified as soon as Photoshop comes to the iPad. So what we're previewing is a huge milestone for the Photoshop team, for Adobe, and for the creative world. And it wouldn't have been possible without a legendary product like the iPad and our partnership with Apple. And so to mark this moment, I'm thrilled to welcome Apple's Senior Vice President of Worldwide Marketing, Phil Schiller.
Absolutely.
So welcome, Phil.
Thank you.
Welcome to Max.
Hi, everyone.
So thanks for joining us.
Yes.
So bringing Photoshop to the iPad is only possible because of Apple's commitment to building an iPad for professionals. Can you talk a little bit about the evolution of the iPad Pro and how you see this product impacting the world of creativity?
I'd be happy to. But first, on behalf of everyone at Apple, I really just want to express how excited we are to be here at MAX with you, with the entire Adobe team. The Apple and Adobe relationship and work together goes back decades. As you all know, we've worked together creating tools for professionals on Mac and on iPad, and we all benefit from that great work together. At Apple, we care deeply about the evolution of iPad into increasingly a tool that's essential to a creative workflow. And that's why over the last few years, we've been creating the iPad Pro line. We've been building in it unique technologies like our A-series chips. We have special versions of that with the CPU and GPU performance for professionals. We've been building in displays unique for professionals, like our 12.9-inch Retina display with ProMotion technology. And really fun tools like Apple Pencil, which is perhaps one of our most advanced technologies, but it is so accessible and simple and fun to use. And Adobe has recognized that from the beginning. Adobe has understood the potential of iPad Pro, and actually you were on stage with us at the launch of the iPad Pro. Adobe was there from the beginning, and since then, our teams have been working together on some really amazing technology, and these announcements today are the beginnings of the world seeing the kind of work we're doing together and that Adobe's doing to create applications that are just going to be amazing on iPad, and they're going to appeal both to everyone who uses all your creative tools today, but also to, I think, a whole new generation of creators who are looking for an entirely mobile workflow and might want something that's even more accessible, even more intuitive and simple to use, and I think that's what you guys are delivering.
Well, it is exciting to see the teams on the software side really maximize what's possible alongside their colleagues on the hardware side. So it's really it's exciting to see the teams work together. So a few months ago, we were at a Worldwide Developer Conference, your event, talking about some of the work we're doing together in AR. Can you talk about the role and importance of AR at Apple today?
Sure. Thanks to Adobe for being at WWDC. AR is hugely important to us. We have a vision of where we think that will impact all of our lives, and I think you share that vision. And we've been hard at work on that. In iOS, we've built a framework called ARKit, and in just a year, that ARKit technology has advanced dramatically to make new experiences possible that couldn't be done before. And very quickly, iOS has become the world's largest AR platform with hundreds and hundreds of millions of iPhones and iPads that are capable with their CPUs and with their camera technology to deliver these amazing experiences. And Adobe's recognized that and been very supportive. You're the first to jump on and support the new USDZ file format that we've worked together with Pixar on. And you have a vision of the tools that creatives are going to need to then take this a step further and create content that all of the consumers are going to enjoy on these mobile platforms. And I think this is one of the most exciting things to come for the creative community, is the ability to create new AR experiences.
Well, we're excited, and we have some more news on the AR front to share with all of you a little later today. So finally, we have over 14,000 creative professionals here with us, many more viewing online. And with the tremendous success of a consumer device like the iPhone, what is the role of the creative professional at Apple today?
This is, I think, an important question, and one that's near and dear to all of us at Apple. Creativity has been part of what is the foundation of Apple from the beginning, both internally with our own creatives as well as externally with all our mutual users and customers out there. As I think back on it, I know Steve showed us all the idea that people with passion can change the world. And those words mean a lot to us. And we think long and hard about what Apple's role should be in supporting Adobe and all of our other users out there. And it is that old line that Steve said, that we exist at the intersection of technology and the liberal arts. And that focus on creativity and the arts to unleash that passion, unleash that vision, is just as important to us today as it was from the very, very beginning. None of that has changed. What has changed is the technology. When we talked about that, we never envisioned a world where we'd be running Photoshop on an iPad Pro everywhere you are. I mean, that's just mind-blowing what's going to be created from all of these brilliant people with that. And so we're excited about it, we're enthused, and we just can't wait for this technology to get into everyone's hands and to create with the freedom to do Photoshop everywhere in the world.
Well, neither can we. Thank you so much, Phil, for your partnership. Excited for the years to come.
Thank you, too.
Before we forget, the Photoshop team got a little creative, as they typically do. We did make a little gift for you to commemorate this moment, both inspired by you being here and your love for bomber jackets, apparently. I don't know, I'm making that up. But it is a Photoshop MAX jacket. We were also inspired by one of the features we're most excited to bring to the iPad that people know and love here, content-aware fill. So
I will strive to live up to that.
A little gift for you on the way. Thanks again, Phil. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
So the incredible effort to bring Photoshop to the iPad unlocked a lot of innovation at Adobe and prompted the question, what other creative endeavors can we transform on a touch surface? And that got us thinking about an activity that underlies everything we do as creative people. For most of you, it's probably what initially kindled your love for creativity. I'm talking about drawing. From the earliest cave paintings 40,000 years ago, to the Renaissance, to back-of-the-napkin sketches for a new app today, drawing and painting are two of the most fundamental means of human expression and connection. Complex illustrations, full-length films, websites, even experiences in new mediums like AR start out with a drawing. And drawing and painting have been a part of Adobe tools for decades. Photoshop has had brushes since its first release, and drawing and painting are still among the most common activities in Photoshop. But we believe that drawing and painting deserve a specialized digital tool that brings the field to a whole new level. And that's why we're excited to preview Project Gemini, our new dedicated drawing and painting application for the iPad. When we set out to build that tool, we asked ourselves, who is the right person to help create an amazing drawing and painting application? And we were lucky enough to bring on someone who has created more than 1,600 digital brushes that have been downloaded more than 1 million times. His name is Kyle Webster. You may know him as the brain behind Kyle's Brushes, and he is a core part of the team building Project Gemini. Please welcome Kyle Webster and our design leader for Creative Cloud, someone who I've worked with for many years, Eric Snowden, to show you Project Gemini. Eric and Kyle.
Great, thank you, Scott. So we're really excited to share Project Gemini with all of you for the first time today. And so like Scott just said, Gemini is a dedicated painting and drawing application that takes Adobe's decades of experience across multiple tools in this field and brings it into a single application that is powerful enough for professionals, but easy enough for anyone to pick up and start using. So I'm going to launch Project Gemini, and this should look really familiar to what you just saw in the Photoshop demo, because Gemini can actually open up Photoshop documents as well. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up this PSD inside of Gemini, and this is something that we started on the desktop and we're bringing onto the iPad to continue working. All of my layers come in full fidelity. And so this should look pretty familiar to the other apps we've shown, but there's a couple of really important differences in Gemini. We've really thought specifically about workflows for illustrators. And the first thing, hopefully you'll notice, in the upper left-hand corner, is we have 3 different brush icons, and Kyle's going to show off some of those capabilities in just a minute. But we've really rethought all of the things that illustrators do hundreds of times a day, like selecting brushes and selecting colors. So I want to draw on this image here. I'm going to add some additional leaves. And so I'm going to tap to select a brush to open my menu, tap again to select leaves, tap again to open my color panel, and I select a really bright color, tap to dismiss, and then I start drawing. So there's actually a lot of tapping, and especially if you're switching brushes and colors hundreds of times a day, that becomes really, really tedious. So in Gemini, you can actually pull the panels off and dock them out on the screen to keep them open. You can dock them to the left-hand side. I can even open up multiple panels at the same time, close my layers. I've got a ton of control over how I lay out the application. I can make it work the way I need it to work. So my preferred way of drawing, actually, is a little bit more minimal. I love Gemini's full screen mode. So when I go into full screen mode, all of the tools just get out of my way. And I've got a very minimal UI where I've got a tool switcher, a touch modifier, just like in Photoshop, and I've got my layers on the right-hand side. So I'm going to find this leaf, I think, at the bottom here, and I want to make it a little bit larger. It's just too small for this composition. So I select the leaf, I tap, and my toolbar expands. I select my scale tool, scale it up, click done. So I'm actually doing real work within full screen modes. In a lot of other applications, you're having to jump in and out of full screen mode to switch tools. It can be really tedious if you're drawing all day long. The last thing I want to show is I'm going to erase some of these leaves. I went a little bit crazy with this Photoshop brush here, and I have leaves sort of spilling over the edge of the vase. In order to do that, I long press here. I can select a different brush. And then if I hold down my touch modifier, it turns into the eraser just like Photoshop. I can start erasing. So I can draw, I can erase, I can draw and erase just by holding down one finger. Just a really simple way to work within Gemini. So once I'm happy with this, if I want to save this, all I have to do is close out of the document. Everything in Gemini is stored in Creative Cloud automatically. And so once that's saved, I can go over to my desktop. So I've got my Mac here, and I have the exact same file over on the Mac. I've got all of my layers intact. I've got all the same brushes. Again, a full fidelity file. So Gemini has true round-tripping back and forth with Photoshop, so you can use them together, which is really amazing. So that's a lot of workflow stuff that's very specific to illustrators. And actually, none of that really matters if Gemini doesn't have the best marks. So I'm going to ask Kyle to show off some of the new brushing capabilities inside Project Gemini.
Great. Thank you, Eric. OK, so friends, there's such a rich ecosystem built around the power of the Photoshop brush engine. In fact, there are more Photoshop brushes floating out there in the world than any other kind of digital brush, and it's because they're just so fun to use. And I'm going to use one of my favorites right now here in Gemini to start painting a little spatter background for an illustration. You can see that the colors and the textures are changing subtly as I tap with this screen, and that's only possible with a Photoshop brush thanks to color dynamics. I'm going to select a little pink here, add a little bit more color. Look how fun that is. And then I think I'll use a little bit of purple. There we go. Lovely, lovely. As much as I love Photoshop brushes, and I could talk about them all day and all night, when I want precision, when I want crisp, clean line art, I reach for a vector brush. And guess what? In Gemini, I can just select a vector brush and start drawing. You have vector brushes and raster brushes playing together in the same app. So when I start to draw with a vector brush, Gemini intelligently, instantly creates a separate layer for my vector art. And because it's vector art, if I want to scale it up a little bit, rotate it, there we go. There's no pixelization because it's infinitely scalable. So I'm going to draw a little happy face here. And if I want to later take this line art that I've created here in Gemini and port it over to Illustrator and do a little bit more work, I can, of course, do that. I'll bounce back to a Photoshop brush here. And Gemini says, oh, you're using a Photoshop brush. No problem. I'll pop you back to the most recently used raster layer. And that's exactly what it does. So I don't have to think about layer management there. No problemo. Now, we've even thought about tools that you've been using for years and years and rethought how they work. For example, the lasso tool, one of my favorites. I'll zoom in here, and I'll start to make a selection around the edge of her face. And then I'm going to lift up the stylus, say hello to everybody, and wave. And lo and behold, I have not lost my selection. I can just keep drawing it whenever I'm ready. Isn't that nice? Yes. And I love the polygonal lasso tool, but I don't like having to switch back and forth. So once again, I can lift up my stylus, and all I have to do is tap on the screen. And anywhere I tap, I'm instantly creating a straight edge selection as part of that entire selection. Beautiful. So this is the lasso tool we've all been dreaming of, right? Now, if I want to invert my selection because I want to paint on the left side of her face and make sure I don't paint on her face, you'll see that at the very bottom of the screen, all of the most commonly used actions immediately appear. So I can invert, then I can select that same lovely spatter brush. I think I'll use a little bit of blue here. And I'll just paint here outside the face, no worries. And just to unify my color palette, I'll use a bit more of that pink. There we go. And in a matter of just a couple of minutes, we have an illustration that was created with Photoshop brushes and vector brushes playing harmoniously in the same drawing environment. That's wonderful. Yes, I'm happy too. But we have completely rethought brushes and brush behavior all together with Gemini, and I'm going to show you what I mean. Very excited about this. We have a completely new category of brushes you'll notice up here in Gemini, and that is the live brushes. And I'll start with the oil paints. Yes, I said oils. Now, since we're in Los Angeles and the weather is beautiful and warm and you can eat ice cream pretty much any time of the year, let's paint a little ice cream. Now, I'm just going to start painting, and I'm using very light pressure. And you can see that the canvas texture is coming through as I paint, and that's really beautiful. Let me zoom in a little bit, right? But I can actually decide that I want to paint with super thick paint. So I'll just crank the thickness all the way up to 100, and now watch what happens. Look at this ooey gooey paint. Look at that. It remains wet for as long as I want it to. It's totally active, and I can paint with this kind of oil paint for as long as my heart desires. I can create layers with it. And watch what happens when I mix some color. I'll use some purple here in the bottom right. Ooh. It picks up some of the pink that's already there. It blends it in. How fun is that? And I think I'll add a little highlight up here, and I can just smudge it all in there. Look at that, so fun. Oh, it's so fun. All right, I'm going to get stuck playing with this for way too long, but let's continue painting our ice cream cone. I'll zoom out a little bit. We'll add a little smudgy bit down there. Add a little highlight just across. And again, we're in a digital environment. I don't have to just paint on the same layer. I'll just create a layer underneath it to paint my cone. Can't do that in real life. There's a cone. I can blend in some orange. Ooh, look at that. And then I'll just size my brush way down, and watch this. I'm going to carve right into it to make my waffle cone. And see, it pulls some of that color with it. It's so fun. Let me zoom in so you can see that. Look at this. It's bananas. Now, that's really fun, and yes, I could do that all day as well, but we didn't stop with oil paints because everybody loves watercolor. So let me show you what we did with our watercolors. Maybe you are watching the old LBs and you don't want to have an ice cream. Maybe you'd rather have a pear. So let me paint a little pear for you with our new watercolors. Watch this. I'm going to grab some yellow, and as I start to paint, the color actually blends and flows directly into the areas that are wet. Look at this. This is real live watercolor. Now I'm going to grab some orange, and you'll see how the color pulls into where I've already painted and flows naturally. I can control exactly how much water I have on my brush at any time with this handy-dandy slider right here. We'll add some green right here on the right. Finish out that shape. Look how pretty that is. Can you all see that moving? It's moving in real time. So much fun. Thank you. And let's put a little stem in there. You can see the paint just kind of, ooh, that's beautiful. And I'll pull that stem out, and then you can watch it just flow in there. And one of my favorite things to do with real watercolors is to just use water. Don't bother with the pigment at all. So I'm just going to suck out all the color of that brush, and now it's just pure water. And watch what happens when I drag the brush just along the bottom here, and when it makes contact with the pear, look at that. All that paint just goes flowing into whatever area of the paper is wet. So you can do wet into wet painting just like real watercolor. And that is really fun. And here's something you can't do in the real world. I think I'll add a highlight by just erasing. Ta-da! So, let's just look at all these options. We have in Gemini 3 different incredibly powerful categories of brushes. We have Photoshop brushes, we have infinitely scalable, precise vector brushes, and now we have groundbreaking, incredible natural media emulation brushes with our new live brushes. This makes Gemini a world-class tool for illustrators everywhere, and I can't wait to see what you all make with it. Thank you.
So thank you, Eric and Kyle. 2 amazing artists at work, huh? One more round of applause for that. I could have just watched that forever. And I feel like the paints look gooey. Like if you actually touch the iPad, your hands would get wet. It's just an extraordinary technology to see come to life. So to summarize Project Gemini, it brings together true freehand vector and raster illustration. The live brushes recreate watercolor and oil-based painting in an amazingly lifelike way, and you'll be able to use all of your favorite Photoshop brushes synced through Creative Cloud. Project Gemini will come to iOS next year, and while Gemini is powerful enough for creative professionals, we also think its versatility and just plain fun will spark a renewed interest in drawing and painting. So Photoshop and Project Gemini kick off a new era as Creative Cloud becomes available on multiple devices and platforms, including Windows, iOS, and Android, to liberate your creativity. That's really what we mean by liberate your creativity. Now let's shift to another form of creativity that has taken over the modern world, photography. A year ago, we introduced the all-new Lightroom CC, a modern photography system that works across desktop, mobile, and the web, taking full advantage of the cloud. The response has been tremendous. Photographers, both professionals and hobbyists, love the ability to access all of their photos anywhere, make edits on the go, and then easily share their work. And so we've spent the last year making Lightroom CC even more powerful, and here to show you what's new in Lightroom is my colleague, Brian O'Neill Hughes. Brian.
Thank you, Scott. Hello, everyone. You know, the whole reason I got into photography is because I couldn't draw or paint. But I'll tell you, I've been spending some time in Gemini lately, and when I use the oil paint, just for a minute, I feel like Kyle Webster. Briefly. All right, let's get back to photography. As Scott said, the teams have been incredibly busy. Over the course of the last year, they've been working hard to make the entire system faster, smarter, and more powerful. And in just a couple minutes, I want to show you just some of what they've been doing. So let's start on the iPad Pro. And this is a device that I love because I can put it in my camera bag and take Lightroom with me everywhere my camera goes. And I can access all of my images. That's really the first thing to know here. I can get to my stuff. My iPhone shots, the shots off my Sony a7R III, Leica Q. I can always get to my images. All right, let's talk about editing and the speed of editing, because this has gotten so much faster. If I tap Auto, this is now Sensei enabled. I'm just going to tap one button, and it automatically and dynamically adjusts my image. Looks great. All of those sliders have moved immediately. Now, if I want to change how it looks, of course I have all sorts of sliders and all sorts of things that I can do, but I've got these really powerful profiles as well. Now, Lightroom has always had profiles. This is how it interprets color. And traditionally, they've mimicked some of the profiles in your camera. What's different now is that I have artistic profiles that dramatically change the image in a way that's really impactful. So I can come through here, and these look so great. I can tell you guys, a long time ago, I wrote a couple books on black and white using Lightroom and Photoshop. I could condense those books into a sentence or two. Open Lightroom, open an image, hit Auto, and use one of these black and white profiles, and you'd be great. Really is that good. OK, so let's do a couple more things to that. Add another sentence to my book. I'm going to pull in clarity, a bit of dehaze, and a little bit of vignette. So at this point, I've done a few different things, and I don't want to have to redo them later. Well, one of the things I can do now is create my own user-generated preset. And just like my images and just like my edits, those travel with them. Whatever device I'm on, I can get to my presets, I can get to my images. That's a huge time saver. All right, so let's go with a little more serious editing here, something even trickier. This is a 42 megapixel image off of the Sony a7R III. And again, I'm going to start with Auto. Great. Open up the shadows a little bit. OK, looking better. Now I'm going to just use that dehaze tool, and it cuts through all that atmospheric haze. But there is one problem here. I have this jet trail. It was a 30-second exposure, and I have a streak of light across the sky that I didn't see. Well, traditionally, I'd go over to the desktop, I'd pass this file to Photoshop, I'd heal it out. Now I can do that on the iPad. So I've got my spot healing brush here, and I'm simply going to touch on the screen, drag my finger across, and magically remove that. Let's think about that for a second. 42 megapixel raw file, spot healing non-destructively on an iPad. Thank you. I think that's super cool. I've wanted that since the iPad came out, and I'm thrilled that I can do that. All right, one more example here. Again, Auto, you see me use this every time. Does a great job. I love the tonality of that. My problem with this image is that I didn't have an expensive tilt shift lens, and I didn't have a 50-foot tall ladder. And the perspective is just a little weird. What I want is those geometry controls that I love on the desktop. Well, I've got them. And even though there are a lot of sliders, I'm going to let the software do the work, come into Upright here, and just hit Auto, right? Fixed. Looks great. So I could spend a lot more time here. I would love to. But that really quickly was Lightroom CC on the iPad. Let's move over to a smaller screen now, and let's look at it at this Samsung Android device. And what you're going to find here is that just because I have a smaller screen does not mean that I've lost any of my power. So the first thing to note is that not only are my images there, but they're synced. They look like they looked on the last device. Black and white image, the night sky, the building that I just stood up. But as I mentioned, I haven't lost any power. So things like that smart Sensei Auto work great. Those color profiles that we talked about. Maybe I want an artistic profile to change the color. Looks great. Maybe I want to leverage geometry, that powerful stuff where we stood up the image. I can do that right there as well. Give that just a moment to stand up. Great. And if there's a distracting element in this image, as there is here, even those powerful healing tools are available to me right there. So just because I have a smaller screen doesn't mean I've lost any power. Okay, so that was Lightroom on the Android. Let's look at Lightroom somewhere that you're probably not used to thinking about it, which is on the web. I'm going to launch my web browser, and we're going to go to lightroom.adobe.com, and that's a way for me to quickly get to my images wherever I am. All right, so I'm just going to launch my web browser. I'm signed in to lightroom.adobe.com. Any of you using Lightroom, you can do this and get to your images anywhere. Wherever you are, all you need is the web. There they are, all of the ones we were just editing. I've got 37 photos here. And if I want to share those, I could send a link. People could download the files. They could collaborate, give me feedback. But I want to share less of them. I think we can all agree there's too many pictures of my dog up there. So I'm going to leverage a tech preview that all of you have available to you called Best Photos. And what Best Photos does is it makes a guess about what less images would look like based on content, edits, composition. And right out of the gates, it knew what we all guessed is, yes, there are too many pictures of that dog. But let's change our criteria here a bit. Let's ask for fewer images, ignore my ratings, and I'd like to see more people. Well, Sensei's got both of my boys, my wife, my puppy, even my old truck there. So I'm very happy there. No one's going to be offended. At this point, I want to share that. And when I share it, I could again send a link, could create an album, or I could leverage the power of Adobe Portfolio, which all of you have access to. You can build your own beautiful custom website in just a few minutes. Here's what that looks like. Really easy to do that. Really, really pleased with that way of sharing things. So again, we looked at a Lightroom CC on the iPad Pro. We looked at it on the Samsung Android phone. We looked at it on the web. It is a complete system. You can use it on Windows and Mac desktop. And if you have an Apple TV, you can even view your images there. So in closing, this is for everyone. Everyone can use this because Lightroom does a lot of the work for you, and you can use it absolutely anywhere. So I hope you guys try it and love it. Thank you very much for your time.
So thanks, Brian. Lightroom is an example of where all Creative Cloud applications are going. It is an app that's equally powerful on your desktop, your tablet, your phone, and on the web, as Brian described. It takes full advantage of Adobe Sensei to simplify these complex, time-consuming tasks like editing multiple photos or correcting geometry, and it uses the power of the cloud to not only keep all of your photos at your fingertips, but your editing presets and profiles as well. So one of the things that I love about my job is seeing someone use Creative Cloud to do something truly innovative and new. One project that definitely fits this description is the animated film Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is actually slated for release on December 14th. The Spider-Man movie promises to look unlike any other animated film you've seen. The film's art direction and design team spent years behind the scenes creating this new Spider-Verse. They applied classic techniques to their work in Photoshop, Illustrator, and other Creative Cloud applications to create these characters and environments that audiences have just not seen before, but still ring true to the comic book world. Later today, we actually have production designer Justin K. Thompson and other members of the film's team to deliver a behind-the-scenes look at making the movie and how they used Creative Cloud to achieve the film's unique design. And today, we have an exclusive clip of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Quick reminder, this is an exclusive clip for you, so recording is not permitted. Please put away electronic devices. Just enjoy this cool scene. Let's roll the video.
My name is Peter Parker. I'm pretty sure you know the rest. I saved the city, fell in love, then I saved the city again and again and again. Look, I'm a comic book, a cereal, I did a Christmas album, and a so-so popsicle. But this isn't about me. Not anymore.
Spider-Man swings in once a day, zip, zap, zop in his little mask and answers to no one. I love you, Miles.
Yeah, I know that.
You gotta say I love you back.
Dad, are you serious?
I want to hear it.
Look at this place.
Dad, I love you.
Dad, I love you.
That's a copy.
Ladies and gentlemen.
My name is Miles Morales. I'm the one and only Spider-Man. At least that's what I thought.
You ever hear of the Super Collider? You're gonna love this.
Dimension opening now.
You're like me.
That's impossible.
All right, kid, listen up. This fry is your universe. It's soggy, it's weird, it's gross. And this delicious normal fry is my universe. So you want to learn to be Spider-Man.
Can you teach me?
Yes, I can. Time to swing. Good, you're doing it. Double tap to release and whip it out again.
Okay.
Whip
and release.
You're a natural. Whip.
Hey guys.
Who are you?
I'm Gwen Stacy. I'm from another dimension.
How many more spider people are there?
Hey, fellas.
Hello.
This could literally not get any weirder.
It can get weirder.
Okay.
We need to get back to our universes soon.
Brooklyn is gonna collapse. My family lives in Brooklyn.
Whoa.
Miles, what's wrong?
This was never your city. It's mine.
If I don't destroy the collider, none of us will have a home to go home to.
Remember, what makes you different
Let's go!
is what makes you Spider-Man.
Officer, I love you.
Wait, what?
That way. Other way.
Do animals talk in this dimension? Because I don't want to freak them out.
Pretty exciting. So let's talk about our pro video tools. Video professionals are now creating for more channels than ever before, and have to make their work look good, whether it's a 60-foot movie screen or a 6-inch phone. But it's a lot of work. That's why we're so focused on innovations within our video tools that automate tedious tasks, create smarter workflows, and leave video professionals more time to be creative. And the video industry is embracing this approach. Over the past year, Premiere Pro, After Effects, Character Animator, and other Creative Cloud apps have been used for acclaimed shows like Atlanta and Stranger Things, Childish Gambino's landmark video, This Is America, and feature films like Searching. So please welcome the one and only Jason Levine to share news about our pro video tools. Jason.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much. Hello. Lovely to be back on the Max stage. I'm so excited to share with you some of my favorite features in Premiere Pro and After Effects today. And we're going to start by talking about some of our new color workflows in Premiere Pro. Now, it's going to begin with the Lumetri color panel with something called Auto Color Match. Powered by Adobe Sensei, this incredible feature will automatically take the color and light, even skin tones, from any reference video or image and automatically apply them to your video. So here we have, on the left, my reference, my hero footage. This was shot in Los Angeles, here on the beach, and this is what I want my footage to look like. So I've been cutting together this little scene of beaches along the west coast of California. So up in Northern California, I wasn't able to really capture the Santa Cruz ocean that I wanted. So where did I turn? Of course, no further than Adobe Stock, where with our millions and millions of 4K and HD videos, I found exactly the one that I wanted. But the color wasn't quite right. And I'm not a professional colorist. I talk about this openly all the time. And for me to try and match that reference would just take an enormous amount of time, if I could even do it at all. Well, now I don't have to. I can simply go to Color Wheels and Match. I can click on Apply Match. Sensei analyzes my reference and boom, instantly matches the color. Just yes! Yes! Before, after, terrible. They can't all be winning singing notes. But your matches can be winning, all right? Now that's an automatic fix. Let's go ahead and switch to something that's a little more manual here. I'm going to switch out of this look here. I'm going to go into our window menu. We're going to go into workspaces. I'm just going to switch to selective here. And now I'm going to go into something new. 5 new color curves, which we're referring to as selective color grading. This is going to give you complete precision control over hue, saturation, and light.
Now, we didn't simply want to give you 5 curves that you have in other applications. No! We wanted to give you something unique. We wanted to reimagine how to use these curves. We wanted to guide you, to teach you how these very advanced things work for new users so that you can begin to understand color. And for the professionals, give you a little something extra, that same precision that you expect, and that way to really make your colors pop. So in this footage here, I want to simply saturate the skin tones and saturate the blue in the sky. So for that, I'm going to use hue versus sat. I'm going to take the familiar Adobe eyedropper, and I'm going to click right on his cheek. And when I do that, you'll see that we're presented with 3 control points. And I'm going to begin to raise and go above the line and raise that control point, and you can see that I'm saturating the skin tone. And if I go below the line there, I am now desaturating the skin tone. But I want you to pay attention to that vertical line. It's actually showing you what's happening. You can see up, saturated into the oranges, down, desaturated. Yes, it's guiding you and teaching you. Let's do the same thing for the sky. I'm going to click into the sky here. Let's take that same control point. You can see moving towards the blues. And if we want to move those hues more into view, we've got this lovely slider, which is going to let us do that. Another unique feature here, all right? And very quickly now, I realize that's good, but I want more color contrast. I want more drama in the blues of the sky. I need to adjust the luminance. So for that, we're going to use hue versus luma. Let's take our familiar Adobe eyedropper. Let's click into the sky right here. And now, when I click on that center control point, what is it showing me? It's showing me luminance values. As we go north above the line, it's brightening the blues, but I don't want that. I want it to darken those blues to give me more of that color contrast, more drama. I can play this back beautifully in real time. You even have the ability to layer these in the Lumetri control panel brilliantly, easily, efficiently, hue versus sat and hue versus luma with these new 5 selective color grade tools. Now, in this shot here, we have our skateboarder who's skating across the night sky in New York City. And just as with before, I simply wanted to add a little more drama, all right? I love the lighter blue going into the darker blue, but what if I could adjust the hue of the actual sky, create like a natural gradient? Well, for that, I'm going to use hue versus hue. So we take our familiar eyedropper, we click into the blue of the sky, and now, once again, teaching you, guiding you, reimagining color curves, it's showing you the colors that we're going to move towards as we go north above the line. We're going into the greens and the yellows and the oranges. And if we go south of the line, we're going to move into the magentas. And now when I play this back, look at what it has done. It's created this beautiful gradient as she skates across my lens, creating that drama, creating the beauty, giving us a little something extra. It's 5 new selective color grading curves, and the best thing about it is it's also available today in After Effects. Yes! Which is the perfect segue to After Effects. Now, in this particular thing here, I'm going to show you something new. Now, this is a feature that will be coming to a future version of After Effects. And as many of you know, we will often take technologies from one Adobe application and place them in another. So today, it is my esteemed pleasure to be able to showcase to you content-aware fill for video in After Effects. So here, yes, that's super cool. All right, so wait for it. So here, what we want to do is we want to take the horse out, right? So similarly with images, how do we do that? All right, well, first we need to create some kind of a mask. We need to poke a hole in it. So here I've got a mask, and I used a very simple elliptical mask. Now, yes, you could have used the pen tool, you could have used the roto brush for a more accurate one. I didn't even do that. Simple elliptical mask, which I then tracked with 4 simple keyframes. Now, once I do that, all I have to do is click on Generate Fill Layer. And when I do this, After Effects is going to begin analyzing all of that content and filling it in, just as we know with images. Now, this is nothing new. We've been doing this in video today for ages. But how do we do it? We export TIFF sequences, Targa sequences, and then we bring those frames in, frame by frame into Photoshop, fix them, and send it back. But we no longer will have to do that with content-aware fill coming to After Effects. Here it comes. It's finishing up. I can feel it. It's so powerful. Horse free. The horse is gone. But there's a problem. Our little horsey friend has left some remnants. Perhaps not the ones you're thinking of. They're sometimes messy creatures. No, I'm talking about little horsey hoof prints here, and dust. We need to get rid of that. We want a nice, clean backing plate. So to do that, I'm simply going to select all of my layers here, and I'm going to pre-compose this. Okay, just like that. Once I do that now, I'm going to take my eraser tool, I'm going to double-click in here, and I'm simply going to paint out, again, creating that hole, telling After Effects what it needs to fill in. I'm going to click on Generate Fill Layer and let it do its thing. Now, in the essence of time, I've already done it for you, so here is the finished version. Horse removed, footprints removed, dust removed, just like that. Yes! After Effects doing the work for you. So what have we seen very quickly today? First, true Adobe innovation with Auto Color Match, powered by Adobe Sensei. True Adobe precision with the 5 new selective color grading curves. And true Adobe magic with content-aware fill coming soon to a future version of After Effects. Thank you very much.
I just want some of whatever Jason is having. That is awesome. So thanks, Jason. What he showed us is just the beginning. Premiere Pro, After Effects, and Audition are all jam-packed with great new features available today. I hope you check them out. A quick thought, but just for a moment, on the power of new technology. Our teams are excited about features like content-aware fill in Photoshop and After Effects, and other editing features that save professionals a lot of time by removing objects from their work. At the same time, we understand that this technology prompts new and important questions about how we can make sure it's used responsibly, and how we can also use technology to detect when content has in fact been edited. So we are always working and talking with partners, media companies, and others about how to address these important issues, and we will continue doing so. Now, we did not get a chance to show you some of the amazing additions we've made to our animation tools. That includes additions like Characterizer, a part of Character Animator that lets take almost anything, or anyone, lets anyone create an animation using an image and movement of their own face and head. It's pretty mind-blowing, so you should check that out. We're also working hard to create smoother workflows from our animation tools into other parts of Creative Cloud. So some great stuff hitting our animation tools. So tools like Premiere Pro and After Effects are great for professionals working in a traditional video workflow. But in the past few years, a new breed of video storyteller has emerged. Their studios are living rooms, city streets, and skateboard parks. In short, wherever they find themselves. And their post-production facility may be their phone while they're bumping along a bus in Peru. These creators may not have the same resources as studios like Disney or Netflix, but they're just as committed to quality, and they have the creative freedom to explore any subject that interests them. So I'm happy to welcome to the stage one of the leaders of this new generation of video storytellers, Lily Singh. Also known as Superwoman, Lily's funny and insightful YouTube videos have been viewed more than 2 billion times. Her memoir, How to Be a Boss, was a national bestseller, New York Times bestseller, and we're going to see a few highlights of Lily's work and then welcome her to the stage. So let's roll the video.
You only go on the talent show the first time once, and we need to enjoy every single moment. Team Super, we are in this together.
I'm gonna just be myself and be me. So that's completely just me being like, yo, yes, I talk about The Rock like this. Yes, I have crushes. Yes, I'm thirsty and I'm proud.
What up, everyone? It's your girl Superwoman. I'm here with my boo thing, my hubby, my poppy, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Get over here. Come over here.
Hey. Until tomorrow, when more stuff is gonna happen, because stuff happens every day. Why? Because we fill every day with stuff. Meow.
Welcome, Lily.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm so weird.
Things are bigger on the screen.
I know, it's super weird, bigger.
Still getting over it myself, actually. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks, I'm psyched to be here. This is super cool. Hi, everyone. Hi. Hello.
So you began making YouTube videos in 2010. So what inspired you to start?
Well, in 2010, I was finishing up university, and perhaps you can relate, perhaps not, but I was very confused about what I wanted to do in life. You know, I had no idea what degree I was getting and what I was going to do with it, but I know when I was younger, I used to be really creative. And as I grew older, I was somehow convinced that I could no longer be creative, and I had to get a very serious professional job. At that time, I discovered YouTube, and it got me out of the dumps. In this time when I was really feeling low and feeling dark, I created a video, and by making other people laugh, I made myself laugh, and more than anything, I gained a community.
And when you're setting out to make a video, what do you try to accomplish? And also, how has that changed over the years as you've become, more known?
What do I try to accomplish? Not sucking. Like, honestly, the internet can be pretty harsh. When I first started making videos, it was simple. Just figure out what I wanted to do. Do I want to make tutorials? Do I want to make comedy videos? Do I want to do music? And so I was just trying to find my bearings a little bit. Once I got used to the idea of doing comedy and sketches and rants, I thought, okay, how can I convey important messages that I actually believe in? You know, I think comedy is a really great vehicle for communicating messages such as gender equality and simple things like loving yourself. I just wanted people to watch my content and feel good, you know?
I feel it.
I'm an angel. Self-proclaimed.
So recently, we gave a sneak peek of a product called Rush, which we're actually about to give more information on. But it's just this all-in-one video tool that brings some of the power of Pro Tools into a more easily accessible product.
Right.
How do you think a tool like Rush will help this next generation of folks getting started with YouTube?
Right, well, if you're anything like me, when I first started making videos, I had no idea what I was doing, especially when it came to editing. I was by no means an expert, and I was just looking for software that would make me seem like I knew what I was doing, you know, with powerful features. Especially the fact that Rush is available on desktop, mobile, and tablet. That's very much so capturing of the essence of post-production today. You know, my editor, he edits on a plane, in an Uber, in the middle of a party. Very fun to work for me. He edits everywhere, and so it just captures what post-production looks like today.
So, one final question. What is The Rock really like?
I think he works out. No, truly, The Rock is phenomenal. He is the perfect example of having a phenomenal work ethic, but also just being the most grounded, down-to-earth, kind human being. He should be everyone's role model. I'm here to just promote The Rock.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Lily. I know you're going to be here tomorrow, so check Lily out. Thanks again.
I'm excited. Thank you so much. Have fun.
So we did do a sneak preview of Rush a few months ago at the VidCon event, and it has been getting a lot of buzz, with over 40,000 people requesting access to this beta. So I am thrilled to announce that we are officially launching Adobe Premiere Rush, and it will be available for download today. Rush is the perfect tool. Yeah, there we go. The team will appreciate that. Rush is the perfect tool for creators who approach video the way Lily and so many others do. With Rush, you can assemble your footage on an iPad, do a first edit on your laptop, and adjust the sound mix on your phone. Rush leverages the power of our Pro Tools to refine motion graphics, color grading, and audio, and make this power accessible to all of us. It is the world's greatest multi-device video editing product. To hear more about Premiere Rush, please welcome my colleague, Danielle Darby.
Thank you, Scott. I'm so excited to be here to share Premiere Rush with all of you today. Premiere Rush is an all-in-one video creation app for anyone that wants to tell a story with video, but maybe isn't a video, color, audio, or graphics expert. Premiere Rush makes it easy to create and share videos because it guides you through doing all of those things required to create awesome-looking videos. And it's designed for today's storyteller. Now, Rush works across all of your devices, your phone, your tablet, and your desktop. But let's take a look, starting here on my HP ZBook computer. So at a quick glance, you can see that it's a super clean interface that's really easy to navigate. Front and center, because it's all about your story, you've got a large preview of your video, and underneath that, all of the clips in the timeline that make up your story. Next to the timeline to help you work efficiently, you've got all of your editing tools, and on the right, all of your refinement tools to embellish your story along the way. Now here, I already have a video created in partnership with J.R. Ali. He's an emerging YouTuber and filmmaker. But we're going to recreate this entire video from scratch together. And to do that, I'm going to hop over to my iPad. So here on my iPad, once I launch Rush, it's really easy for me to jump right in. I have access to all of my projects, whether I've started here, on my phone, or on my desktop. Everything is synced to the cloud, so I can pick up right where I left off. It's also easy for me to start a new project. And once I do that, Rush is going to start guiding me through the process of creating my video, starting with picking my media. So here I have access to a variety of locations wherever my media might be, Creative Cloud, Dropbox, or right here on the device. Now, as I start tapping on assets here, you'll see that Rush is assembling my storyline for me, and I get a nice preview of that at the bottom of the screen. I'll add a few more assets here, and then we're going to name this project J.R. Ali. And then once I hit Create, Rush is going to create a project for me, assembling all of those clips that I just selected into a timeline so that I don't have a blank slate and I can quickly get into editing and creating my video. Now, we've really optimized the experience to take advantage of me now being on my iPad, so I can use my finger to scroll my timeline, and I could pinch to zoom in to get a better view. Now I'm going to start making some edits right with my finger in the timeline. And as I'm doing this, you can see that Rush is helping me work really efficiently, sliding and moving everything down the timeline so that I don't have any gaps or have to take extra taps to move things around. Now, I really like this shot here. This is an awesome shot of JR, and I want to use this as my intro shot to my video. And because Rush's timeline is flexible, I can just drag this right on top of this other clip, so I can use this as my intro shot, but still have JR speaking and introducing himself underneath that. So I'll make one last edit here, and now I'm about ready to add my soundtrack. And again, it's really easy for me to add media even in the middle of my project. I have access to that same variety of locations. And once I bring in my soundtrack, Adobe Sensei is hard at work underneath the hood, determining what type of clip I just brought into the application. And if I open up the audio panel here, you can see it's already automatically detected this clip as a music clip. And Rush does this for every single audio clip I bring into the application. So if I tap on this clip here where JR is speaking, it's automatically detected it as a voice clip, giving me contextual controls to help me refine my audio. So let's take a listen.
Hi, my name is J.R. Ali. I'm a travel filmmaker based here in Toronto. Life's been moving pretty fast lately.
So I'm going to take a pause there, because you may have noticed it's a little hard to hear JR speaking, especially when that music ramps up, because it's competing with the music. So one tap on that music clip, I can tap on Auto Duck, and it'll automatically lower the volume of my music anytime JR is speaking throughout my entire story. And I have control here to reduce how much the duck works, but I've got some control. So let's take another listen to what that sounds like.
Life's been moving pretty fast lately. In fact, let me show you what my year's been like so far.
One tap fix, automatically fixed that problem for me. I was pretty awesome. I was able to hear JR speaking more clearly and audibly, and then it ramped up nicely when JR was no longer speaking. So without being an audio expert, Rush made it really easy for me to fix that audio issue. All right, so my video is coming together nicely, and now I want to add some extra polish and some extra oomph to my video. And one thing that often gets overlooked, but really helps videos stand apart from all of the rest on your social media feed and make them look more professional, is color. So in Rush, we make color really accessible and intuitive. So with this clip selected, I can tap on a preset and give this clip its own look and feel. And it doesn't stop there. I can continue honing and really building out this look and feel. I really want the colors to pop here. And once I find a look that I like, I can create this as a preset to reuse for other clips in my timeline or other videos I create. Super helpful if I'm trying to build my brand and look and feel on my social media channel. So we'll call this Color Pop. We'll save that as a preset. Let's go back to that intro shot of JR, apply that preset that I just created. Boom, it's automatically given it a nice color pop. All right, so my video needs just one last thing, and that's some nice graphics. Now, I'm not a designer or an animator, but Rush makes graphics accessible even for someone like me. So here in Rush's title panel, I have access to a bunch of beautifully designed motion graphics templates. And if I don't find ones that I like here, I can search for hundreds more right in Adobe stock from this panel. And once I find one that I like, all I have to do is just drag it right where I want it in my timeline. Let's take a look at this title.
Hi, my name is J.R. Alley. I'm a travel filmmaker based here in Toronto. Life's been
Awesome, so I really like that. It gives my video a nice professional look and feel. It animates in, animates out nicely. So now I'm just going to customize this right here on the canvas. So we'll change this to JR's name. And then we're going to go ahead and borrow his title that he uses on his YouTube channel, Stories Through My Lens. And these are fully customizable titles, so I can just pick this up with my fingers, scale it down, park it where I want it, and go over here in the edit panel and make as many adjustments as I want to really make this my own. So let's play that back one last time.
Hi, my name is J.R. Alley. I'm a travel filmmaker based here in Toronto. Life's been moving.
Awesome. So that gave my video a really nice professional look and feel. All of that shape reflow and animation was retained with my edits. So at this point, I'm ready to head back over to my desktop. And it's really easy for me to switch between my devices. Everything is seamlessly synced to the cloud, so I can pick up right where I left off on my iPad. And at this point, I can continue refining my video, adding transitions, doing more color or audio work, but I'm pretty happy with my video. I've got a nice looking video with great sounding audio, nice pop with color and graphics, so I'm ready to share it. And in Rush's share mode, what's really, usually a time-consuming and overwhelming process of me sharing my video to all of my social media channels, Rush makes quick and easy. So here in Rush's share mode, I can share my video to all of my social media channels and save a bunch of time because all of the information that I would normally have to enter from my video, I can do right here in the application. I'll set my thumbnail. This is a nice one here with JR. And then once I hit export, Rush is going to take care of those export settings, those things that you don't want to know about, shouldn't have to know about, like bitrate, codec, frame rate. Rush is going to make sure that your video looks awesome wherever you share it. So let's recap. In just a few minutes, I was able to create and share my video from scratch, working seamlessly across my devices without being a video expert. Rush made it easy for me to focus on the story I wanted to tell, guiding me through the rest of editing, audio, color, and graphics. And that's the all-new, all-in-one video creation app that's both powerful and intuitive, Premiere Rush. Thank you.
What's up, everybody? I'm about to shoot and edit my video today with Adobe Premiere Rush.
Your lips are a conversation, that face is a song. If it's my imagination, stop me if I'm wrong. I need to know what do ya need, what do ya like. You can be cool, you can be shy, say what you want. Say what you like, 'cause your body talks, your body talks, your body talks. You can pretend you don't wanna know, but I read the signs and react to your toes. Yeah, you don't need to say a word, 'cause your body talks. Shake your hips, yeah. Suck your lips. You don't need to say a word, 'cause your body talks, your body talks, your body talks.
So thanks, Danielle. Congrats to the Rush team. It's not every day you ship a new 1.0 product. This level of power has just not been widely available before like this, so it's really exciting. And Premiere Rush is available now through Creative Cloud. It is free to get started, so check it out. So between the time-saving innovations we built into our video tools like Premiere Pro and After Effects and the intuitive, flexible, do-it-all nature of Premiere Rush, we're making it easier than ever before for any video creator to do their best work. So we are getting towards the end of our show. I'd like to return briefly to three principles, those three principles that drive our Creative Cloud product teams. They are accelerate your work, liberate your creativity, and drive new mediums. Today, you've seen how we're accelerating your work by making it easier to learn new tools and techniques, by automating these time-consuming chores with Adobe Sensei, and by removing bottlenecks. We are liberating your creativity in many ways, with new tools like Photoshop on the iPad, Premiere Rush, and Project Gemini, by tightening the connections between Creative Cloud applications, and by improving Creative Cloud services like Adobe Fonts and Adobe Stock. And you saw how we're driving the new medium of voice with the integration of voice controls and playback in Adobe XD. And we're about to update you on the exciting work we're doing in augmented reality. But really, this is just a small fraction of the improvements and innovations we've made throughout Creative Cloud. We didn't even get to cover some of the new features in Adobe Spark and the innovations we've recently launched in Adobe Acrobat. Millions of people are now using Adobe Spark to create these stunning visual stories. And starting today, Spark Post, our app for making social media posts and graphics, is available on Android. And Acrobat added new features that make it easy to send your work for review and gather feedback all right in the PDF. Acrobat is one of the most popular Creative Cloud apps. You want to check out that new version as well. So take some time to play with your favorite Creative Cloud apps. I guarantee you will find some new features that you are going to love. All of these improvements across our products are available today for anyone with a Creative Cloud subscription. And as you saw, we have some incredible products to look forward to in 2019. Now I want to also take a quick moment to acknowledge the creative community, both the Adobe employees who are behind these products and all of you. The feedback that you have given us throughout the year, the betas that you have participated in or put up with, and what you create inspires us and guides our work every day. None of this would be possible without your partnership. And many members of our team are here at MAX leading breakout sessions and helping at other events. So I encourage you to seek them out, talk with them, tell them what's happening in your field. We love to hear it. We want to hear what's important to you. This is really what drives our priorities. So this is a super valuable time of year for all of us. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the future. Augmented reality will transform the way we interact with our world. But regardless of what new devices and technologies come to market, AR will be nothing without amazing, interactive, and animated content enriching this new medium. It really is our responsibility at Adobe to ensure that your tools, the tools you're using, provide a bridge to tomorrow's mediums like AR. And we have a quick video about the potential of augmented reality and how it's already affecting our lives. Then, my colleague, our Chief Technology Officer, Abe Parasnis, will come up to share our AR strategy and lead a demonstration of how it will affect what you can do in the future. Let's roll the video.
In my toes and in my shoulders, I've been shaking like I'm colder. In my head, in my eyes, feels like I'm never getting older. Got my heart on my sleeve, got the fire to set me free. I'm gon' show this down tonight and light it.
Morning, folks. Great to be here. It's been an exciting morning with amazing new innovations across the entire Creative Cloud portfolio. But even as we innovate across all these products, Adobe has always been a company that has embraced new mediums. From print and PC to web and mobile, we have always looked around the corner and figured out what's the next creative medium. We truly believe that we are at a similar inflection point with augmented reality as the next breakthrough medium. As creatives, this medium for the first time will free you from the confines of the screen where the world around you literally becomes your canvas. And as brands reimagine their customer experiences, AR has the potential to be a true game changer. But building these experiences will require complete rethinking, new tools, new workflows, and new interaction models. So for the last couple of years, all of you in the creative community have been hearing about potential of these immersive platforms. But the reality is, today, most of this is out of your reach because these platforms require fundamentally different skill sets, from learning new development tools, to learning new languages, to new runtimes. Put another way, you all have been given this blank canvas, but really without any tools to paint with. So to truly democratize AR requires solving some really deep technical problems. On the authoring side, how do we enable you to leverage your skills with familiar design tools to author high-quality AR experiences? And then once authored, how do we enable you to deliver these experiences at scale and in real time anywhere on the planet? For AR to truly become the next big medium requires solving both these problems, authoring and delivery, within a single consistent platform. Earlier this summer, we announced Project Aero, our mission to democratize creation of immersive experiences. Our goal with Aero is simple but ambitious. It's to establish a new discipline for immersive design, blending the world of digital and physical, and to empower you to create high-quality AR experiences, all with the power and polish you expect from Adobe. So today, I'm excited to share more details on Project Aero and give you a first sneak peek of where we are going. First, we're going to bring all of the Adobe Creative tools that you know and love, like Photoshop, Dimension, and every other tool, into this new era by making them AR ready. This is going to be a big deal. Second, we are building new immersive design tools both for the PC and the mobile platform, enabling you to author AR experiences for the first time with drag and drop ease for the physical world. Third, we will have a set of intelligent cloud-based AR services. Think of this as the secret sauce. These are real-time content delivery services for an AR world where with just push of a single button, you can publish AR content anywhere on the planet. And with Sensei intelligence baked in, Aero is designed to deeply understand the physical world that surrounds us, with concepts like lighting, textures, motion, and spatial awareness baked right at its core. Now, we also recognize that we can't do this alone. So we have been working with a range of hardware and platform players in the space. And as you heard earlier this morning from Phil, we have partnered deeply with Apple, Pixar, and others to standardize the file formats like USDC, as well as interaction models between software and hardware to truly bring AR to life. This integrated approach of tools, services, and partnership with the ecosystem is critical to unlock the potential of AR, and it's something Adobe is uniquely positioned to deliver in the market. Now, as we go on this immersive journey, we have been working with key design leaders and thought leaders in the industry to ensure that we have the right feedback loop from customers and partners in shaping this new medium. One such company that we have been working closely with is Adidas, as they completely reimagined their brand and retail experience with AR. So to talk a little bit about it, please join me in welcoming to the stage Senior Director of Design Technology at Adidas, Simone Cesano. Simone, welcome to Max.
Thank you. It's great to be here. You're a lot of people. It's great to be on this side after so many times in the audience. It's really
Great to have you here. So, Simone, I know everyone here in the audience knows Adidas is one of the most recognizable brands on the planet. And I know you and your team at Adidas is extremely passionate about digital design, but in particular, the potential of immersive. Would love to hear a little bit of your thoughts on this new medium.
Sure. Well, at Adidas, we're always looking for new and exciting ways to innovate, whether it's the design of our product, the technologies that we give our designers to create it, or the ways we engage with the consumer. And AR creates a new digital canvas that we can use to tell unique stories with incredible depth and still keep it intuitive for the consumer. Let me give you an example. Many of these shoes that we're making are actually built out of fibers that were recycled from bottles that we harvest from the ocean. And that's a deep and emotionally compelling story that we're now able to tell the consumer and have them experience in a new and exciting way. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. In fact, speaking of experiences, you know at Adobe we're all about experience. So would love to hear, since especially we have actually one of your real showroom kind of retail locations here, how do you think AR will change the actual customer experience and what's the customer benefit?
I think we're looking at three different things as we do this. First, as a brand, we put creativity at the core of what we do, and AR gives us a great way of having the work of our designers and everybody that's involved in the creative process shine through to the consumer. The second thing that happens is we are the creator brand, and we think of our consumers as creators too, and AR gives us the ability to invite them in the process, engage with them, and have them interact with the brand or the product in a completely new way. And in this way, it's a game changer. And then the last thing that I think is really important is the fact that as you move into AR, the channels through digital or physical retail start to meld together. And as a consumer, you don't see the difference as much, and you can create a continuity of experience that's unprecedented. This is why we've been working with you guys at Adobe from A1 of Project Aero, because the potential is endless.
That's great. In fact, that's great to hear. I know the Adobe team has actually been thrilled to partner with your team as well. So, and I'm actually excited to see what the teams have done together with your real-world showroom here.
I'm as excited as you are, and I'm really curious about what everybody has to say about the experiences that we have created together.
That's great. Thanks, Simone, for being on stage and for being a great partner on this journey.
You're welcome. That's great.
Thank you.
Ciao, Max.
So, to now give you a taste of what's possible with Project Aero, please welcome Zorana G to the stage. Zorana?
Thanks, Abe. Hi, everyone. Wow. Are you guys ready for the last one? Good. I am too. It's hard being back there and being the last one. But anyways, we're here, and I'm excited and thrilled and honored to be here to talk to you about how Adobe is bringing AR to everyday designers. So, traditionally, people associate AR with 3D, and that's why I want to start with an example that shows you how your everyday content that you work with every day can be brought into the immersive world. And so for that, I'm going to start with Photoshop. Photoshop on the iPad here that you saw Jenny demo earlier. I have this beautiful piece of artwork created by Dan Mumford, creative resident at Adobe. He's actually here at the show, so feel free to mob him. And it's pretty much done at this point, and it's looking really good. And at this point, I can output this to a variety of sources, right? Whether it's web, whether it's print, magazine ad, whatnot. And now I can consider immersive media as an output. This completely changes the world of design for me. It's a whole new outlook. As Abe mentioned earlier, it's the next breakthrough medium for creative storytelling. So, because Photoshop is synced to the Creative Cloud, I can access this file anywhere. So let's jump into Project Aero. Project Aero is a new AR authoring tool where we're enabling designers to be able to create these immersive experiences. So before we get started, let's talk a little bit about the workspace. Here at the bottom, we have my assets, as well as the one I just brought in. We have the familiar plus button that allows me to bring in more content. Upper right, we have a preview button that allows me to preview my work. OK, let's bring in that Photoshop file. And that's simply just a matter of dragging that file out into this space. This physical space. This camera feed that I have here is showing me my digital canvas, right? My surrounding is my space. And now I have this awesome Photoshop file right here. This is really hard to do today. It's really hard to do in the past. This takes hours of coding, really, and just complicated design tools that frankly, designers just don't have, and they don't really need to have. So now I can just bring this in just like this, all your Photoshop content right here. However, this is a Photoshop file, so what does that mean? That means layers, right? So pay attention to the center of this file here. We're about to go on a journey, and it's going to be good. Notice now that essentially I've separated out and given a little depth to my layers. If I could roll this around, you can see that's all I'm doing here. And now right away, I can play around with parallax. I can look behind the walls and see what Dan has created here for me. Hi, puppy. Got a little puppy there. Puppies are the thing here. And now what I can do is actually I can walk through my Photoshop layers. By moving my camera into the space, you can see now I am actually walking in my Photoshop files. This is so cool. It's a completely, thank you. It is a completely new way of thinking about my layers. It's frankly more fun, actually. All right. However, we live in a 3D world, right? So what does that mean about bringing 3D content to augment the world? And with this, I want to talk about a workflow with Dimension, Adobe Dimension. You heard Terry way back then talk about it in an ever so brief 60 seconds. I know it's super mesmerizing, every second of it. But just to quickly recap, Dimension is a new tool that enables designers to work with 3D content easily. So let's see how we can use that in conjunction with Aero to create an augmented world. OK. Now I'm going to switch examples and talk about a very different example. And this is an example of our partnership that we had with Adidas' design team and how we work closely to really think about how we can reimagine the retail space, the retail experience. And here I have the actual shoes of a new model of the Adidas Ultra Boost model that we're working on that I got directly from the team. And what I ultimately want to do is create a 3D configurator of sorts for the consumer. So as the consumer goes to the retail store, they can pick up a shoe. A shoe doesn't even have to exist, actually. The shoe doesn't even have to be there. And I want to swipe through a bunch of variations and styles that the shoe has to offer. So let's do that in Dimension. Really easy to swap materials, add materials inside of Adobe Dimension. I have a couple set up already. Now it's simply a matter of accessing my CC files here and dragging in the very special defined approved colors that are used for this particular season. So let's go ahead and double click that and just very quickly change the materials. All syncing. Color is clearly very important for designers all across the board, and ensuring that we have consistency is really easy to do with CC files. Okay, I think I'm about done here. Now this is looking pretty good, and at this point, if I want to visualize this, I essentially need to go to the render step. But for now, let's go ahead and just open up this render preview. It gives me a quick couple passes of how that looks, and that looks awesome. However, I actually want to take this into the real world, right? That's what we're talking about here. And in fact, I want to take it all the way to the retail space. So let me do one quick thing here. Let's go ahead and just export this to Aero, and let's head over to the store. All right, so now we're taking that file. We're saving it to Creative Cloud. We're doing some magic there and getting it AR ready. Again, all the assets that you work with can be AR ready. So here we are in the store. You can see my camera feed. Again, my digital canvas is what I'm working with, right? And I want to be able to visualize that shoe here. I see where I need to place this. I'm going to first just go ahead and drag this out. All right. Let's get this guy positioned. And plop it right over here. Got one giant shoe. All right. So this shoe is now here, but look at the quality of the shoe. I mean, I actually did a test with my team earlier and said, like, which one's real? I added a bunch of fake shoes and real shoes, and they couldn't tell. This is amazing. The quality, the fidelity of the texture, the colors, the consistency that you get in the entire pipeline, that is unheard of until today. And we know that's what you expect, and that's what Project Arrow gives. All right, let's go back to that 3D configurator, right? We wanted to talk about being able to create those variations. Well, that is simply just adding a behavior. And what a behavior is essentially a set of triggers and actions, very similar to what you saw Koi show earlier in XD. But now we're applying that in real life. So I'll click on this. There's my variations. Let's open up the behaviors panel. For this, I'm going to add a nice tap trigger. And then I'm going to say cycle through the variations. And now when I'm previewing the shoe, as a consumer, I can come through and just very easily tap on the shoe, and it's animating beautifully between the different models. Thank you. Super. In just a matter of minutes, I was actually able to take this, create variations of it, add rich behaviors in very simple drag and drop functions, all in this immersive world. Okay, but we want to do more, right? I want to actually utilize this physical space more. And for that, I want to add a different kind of behavior. I want to add what's called a proximity trigger. And this means that when a viewer gets close to the shoe or close to the object, it will trigger an animation. In this case, I wanted to trigger an animation that I created earlier. So let's go ahead and just do that quickly. Get rid of these. Now I'm going to say, let's add that proximity trigger, and I'm going to add this simple animation that I created. And now, as a viewer, when I come up to the shoe, let's get this positioned here. Now when I come up to the shoe, go into preview mode, and get near it, it will trigger the animation. And you can see it's nicely doing a procedural explosion there, breaking the parts apart, the shoes apart, and also giving me really great information that I feel I want to communicate as a designer. All your products now have a story to tell, and you can tell them through augmented reality. Look at it one more time. And you can see how you bring in all the different pieces here, the Photoshop file, the animation, the dimension file, the 3D file, et cetera, all coming together in this final piece. And there's one last piece that I want to add, and that is actually adding a poster board that I know that I need to be, that belongs in the store. So for that, let's go ahead and just drop that. This is a great Adidas poster that was created. We know we want to just drop it right around there. Let's expand it. And again, you can see how everything kind of comes together with the shoe. You got the parallax, you got the depth, all immersive right here. None of it exists. You can't actually go and grab it. And of course, if you want to wrap this up, very similar to all our other applications, if you want to publish this experience to a client, whatnot, you can come over here and publish this, and then it generates a link. You can view it on any browser or through Creative Cloud. And that's it. And again, that is a great example showing you how you can use Project Arrow to create these immersive experiences. I can't wait to see what you guys do with it next. Thank you.
Thank you, Zorana. A big shout out. Showing AR demos on stage is not easy. Great job. That's a pretty cool demo. Now, who knew after a couple of decades of being intimate with a PSD file that it had this whole new personality and dimension? Live PSDs are going to be the future. This is actually going to be an exciting journey that we are embarking on. And as a first step, today, we are really excited to announce early access release of Project Arrow. You can go to adobe.com/Project Arrow and sign up to be in this early release. I hope you're seeing some of the potential of what this new medium holds and what is the next breakthrough medium that we all can both as creators create with and as consumers experience the world around us in a different way. We look forward to going on this journey with you. It's going to be a fun one. Have a great Max. Back to you, Scott.
So thank you, Zorana. Thank you, Abe. No doubt the future will be immersive and amazing. We are about to wrap up, and I want to thank all of you for coming. I know that taking 3 days away from your busy schedule is tough. We appreciate you choosing to spend your time with us. What I find most meaningful about Max is just the amazing, interesting, smart people that come together who share this belief in the power of creativity and to change the world. Before we go, just a few quick reminders. First, don't forget to join us tomorrow when Lily Singh will return in conversation with musician and author Questlove. We'll have a visit from director Ron Howard, among other special guests. And the hilarious Tiffany Haddish will be on hand for everyone's favorite part of MAX, Sneaks, where we will give you a preview of upcoming innovations from deep within the labs. That's always fun and funny. And I look forward to seeing all of you at the MAX Bash tomorrow night. For all of you online, thank you for joining us. We'll be live all week on Adobe Live on Behance. Thank you for coming, and enjoy the rest of MAX. Thanks.